on, everybody? Hi, welcome to the program. It's the Jeff Gerstmann Show. It's April 14th, 2026, and I'm here manually fading this music down a little bit because Jordan Midler of VideoGamesChronicle.com, your other home for energy drink information, your home for Pokemon,
now we're talking.
Here.
Now we're talking. Now
That's right.
Energy drinks, half and half, fine. Home for the news, whatever, maybe when we can be bothered. But Pokemon, now we are talking. If I thought after 200 episodes, you might need a real podcast host to jump in the chair. So I'm here and I'm ready.
You see how it's been going over here behind the scenes. It's fucking held together.
Oh, man.
Shit and sellotape, I believe, is what your people say.
Yes, I'm always saying that. Not a day goes past that I'm not saying shit and sellotape. But we're here, we're live, and we've got video games to talk about. So who can complain?
No, exactly. It's been an interesting run of games here, I think. And I have been I've been playing Pragmata. I know you have played a fair amount of that as well. I guess I can't tell you exactly where I'm at with it without spoiling stuff. I'm getting pretty late game. It seems like there's been some story dumps in it, and I'm kind of coming close to the end. You have finished the game?
I have finished the game. I've almost platinumed Pragmata.
Wow.
Which
8-ish hours, you think? Something like that?
Yeah, it's a very... Capcom have been doing these brisk-ass games. I don't know what was going on around Resident Evil, but a lot of people that were reviewing it were like, man, this took me like 15 hours on my first playthrough. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, these games that they're putting out are not long whatsoever. Like, so yes, it's around that kind of time. It's very segmented. The segments aren't that very long, but I put out my review the other day. Really enjoyed it. I'm at like a 4 out of 5. I think it's a totally solid like throwback to an era of games that don't get really made anymore. They don't really exist. It's like there's almost something Xbox 360 in about it, which I really enjoy. Where are you landing on it? Kind of where you're at so far?
I love it. There's stuff about it that I was worried, because I'm playing it at Summer Games Fest last year. I came away from it going like, this is a really interesting mechanic, and it could get very old very fast. But they've been really good about adding. It really feels sharp. Like they have the types of upgrades you get, where you can spend your upgrade points, the things you can do to kind of enhance yourself, all kind of change up the combat in ways that I found to be really exciting. Like that hacking mini game. So for people who haven't seen it, there's a demo out, and you should definitely at least check that out. But it is a third-person shooter where you are also hacking the robots. And so whenever you kind of aim down sights at an enemy, a hacking grid pops up, and then you need to navigate that grid while still kind of aiming at the enemy. And so it's a bit of like you're hitting the face buttons to navigate the grid while you're still aiming and doing all this other stuff. And so there's a bit of that. I think every single review I've seen has had the like patting head, rubbing tummy. I read yours last night, and I was like, yes, good. You've checked the yes. You've said the thing about this game.
Yeah, that kind of, you almost have to like unfocus your eyes. And at the start of the game, the first few that I did, I was like, I don't love this. It feels very like it's almost snake-like. You have to hit the face buttons, and while you're doing that, the enemies are slowly kind of shambling towards you. Once you get much more comfortable with it, and you're engaging it with enemies at different kind of distances, I think it's really solid. For me, the thing that really sells it is the forward momentum of it is kind of incredible. You can go back to your shelter to upgrade your stuff, but it never forces you there, apart from like one story moment. If you die, you end up back there, and you always have tons of upgrade materials. So it's like, well, I died there, but let me just get significantly more powerful and head back out. But I think the core mechanic, super, super solid. I really like the relationship between Hugh and Diana. Like, I thought that was also a potential pain point where is this little girl going to be hitting out with one-liners? But I think she's super cute. She hits the vape anytime she upgrades, which is fun. And Hugh is like the most bland is unfair, but he's just like a nice guy. Like there's no edge to him whatsoever. He's just very patiently explaining to Diana what's going on. They're a very pleasant kind of duo to explore, and I think it's pitched pretty perfectly. I think you'll find like when you're finished it, there's a little bit of afters that you can do that we can't really get into. But once I finished it, I was like, that's a very good length. That's very, very well paced. It all comes together pretty cleanly. But yeah, I think it's super solid. It's a 50 quid game. I don't know how much it is in the US, but it's not a full price release, which is pretty nice.
Let me check. Let me load up Steam real quick, and I can tell you. But yeah, the upgrades do things like and I remember when this upgrade popped up, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm actually like really into what they're doing with it. When I got the offense chip.
Oh yeah.
And what that does is it pops the hacking grid back up earlier. While in the it was so okay. So I'm back up. You need to hack the enemies to get them open, and that opens up weak points on them that you can then shoot. And it stays open for a period of time, and then it closes back up. With the offense chip equipped, it makes it so the hacking grid pops up and you can start to do damage with the hacks, or even greater damage with the hacks, while also shooting at the enemy still while you're hacking to add more damage to the hack in addition to the damage the guns are doing. So it's this compounding, like, oh, now I need to navigate this grid again to pick up these offense chip upgrades, and do even more damage. The combat, I still don't feel like I'm great at it. Like it's not a super difficult game, but also like I'm taking damage, and I'm using all of the sub weapons, which I'm normally like the hoarder that is afraid to use all that stuff. But you get all these like shotguns with 4 shots and a laser with it doesn't last very long. You get all these upgraded weapons, and I found myself just burning through those, because it's so satisfying to just get up on them and just blast them really quick and move on to the next like 5 enemies that are there.
I found myself really focusing in on the shotgun to the point where it was like unbelievably overpowered. The thing that I was quite bad at, and this is maybe an indication of how bad my eyesight is getting, I found it quite hard to parse. So on your grid, there will be yellow squares, which are like your kind of nodes. These are power-ups, and it'll be like, okay, this immobilizes the enemy, or this chains this hack to 3 other enemies. I found it quite hard to discern which one was which in the heat of battle. So I was always just, okay, I'll get a yellow, maybe I'll get the other yellow, and then check out, essentially, hit the green.
Yeah.
So I've wasted all of this material on like the basic guy who could be killed pretty easily, but it gives you stuff so quickly. Basically, every kind of battle arena you arrive in where you're going to engage with more than one enemy, the place is littered with weapons and littered with nodes, so it wants you to use all of the stuff. And there was no weapon that I was like felt lumbered with. One of the it's split into like red and green, so it's like an offensive weapon and a more kind of strategic weapon. One of the strategic weapons I didn't think was that great, but there's a lot of options to deal with the enemies, and the ramp up in like the complication of the enemies and how much damage they do and how fast they come towards you, I thought was pretty interesting, because those were the only moments I found it kind of difficult. There's an early area in like a Manhattan-esque zone that they've showed in the trailers and stuff, and a lot of enemies were coming towards you at the same time at different timings. So there were like maybe a missile's coming in where someone's running towards you, and then a slow lumbering guy's coming towards you as well. And it's like, who do I hack first? Were you playing on controller? Because I found sometimes it got a bit confused as to who I was wanting to hack, which frustrating, obviously. But like not the biggest crime in the world.
I think from a control perspective, that's kind of the one thing. There'll be flying enemies that are targeting you from a distance, and you kind of want to take those out first, but they stay behind all of the other guys. And so aiming at them directly to hack them becomes a little tricky. You're sort of forced to, like, I had to step aside, step out of the way of somebody to get that distance, or just like dash past one enemy and get closer to the other one. But it's I agree with you about the stuff with Diana and Hugh. Hugh is one of the most empty characters, and like, but it is funny that that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's like, but they do a really good job with Diana. I think it's really hard to write any kind of story that that has any emotion whatsoever without being overly cloying and whatever, but especially with kids.
Yeah.
When you're writing children, I think that there's a really, there's a tendency to really fuck that up. And I think they do a really great job at writing her. She's a robot. That's not a secret. She's a android, sorry.
Yeah. She's a blue bomber. That's a joke for anyone that's not played the game. That is a joke. At the point where Capcom was making jokes about it, I think you should have known where this was going. But oh
my god.
Yeah, she's actually Johnny Lost Planet. It's a secret Lost Planet 4 preview
finally.
it, so I'm looking forward to that. What did you think of the setting? Because I thought it was kind of an interesting. So you're on basically a giant 3D printer on the moon, and humans have been mining the moon for lunar filament, which I love. I love a little it's like unobtainium from Avatar or something. So the premise is you're trying to get a message back to Earth, and to do this, you have to travel on this tram through all these different biomes, essentially on this moon base. So that's how they split it apart. It's like, here's a forest one, here's one that's like more kind of a mine. I thought it was like a decent mixture, but I did think a lot of the white rooms seemed like good reuse of assets here. We're getting through stuff cheaper than we could be doing here.
Yeah. Well, it's a good mix, right? I think that the use of these kind of sterile white rooms is sensible given where you are and the overall. I think to me, it's exciting that the entire game isn't like that.
Yeah.
that they did go like, oh, well, actually they 3D printed New York here, and they 3D printed a forest, and so they do give it a lot more variety than I think it could have had.
Yeah.
Just by the way that they tell that story. I like the structure of it, and this is not a Souls game, but the trappings of you have a limited number of heals, and you can upgrade that number over time, and you occasionally find a spot where you can return to the hub and spend your upgrade points, but also when you go back out, all of the enemies have respawned. And so they're definitely kind of pulling that, and I actually appreciated that, because I've been playing this. I should have finished it. It's not that long of a game, but I kind of started playing it one checkpoint at a time, where instead of just powering through, I was returning to the shelter every chance I got to cash in all of the upgrade materials, because there was always something I would a mod I would get, or something that I was like, oh, I actually want to see how that works, or oh, I got some cabin coins and I want to
cabin, come on.
Best new
character.
Yes. He's fantastic, and I want to cash all of those in, because or like last night I found myself going back and forth because I needed a red key card. There are some areas that are locked off that are more difficult areas. And I found myself going back to spend some cabin coins to get a red key card, to go back out, to open the door, to do this, and then get the resources out of the difficult area and come back and spend them again. And so I found myself really tinkering with it, instead of just powering through in entire areas, because you don't really the penalty of, oh, the enemies respawn. There are very few areas in the game where you're really kind of truly backtracking, unless you're going back to collect the things you've missed, and I've some of the collectibles I found worth it, just because of the way Diana reacts to some of that stuff. It has been some of the best writing in the game.
Totally agree, and I also think there's a very reasonable number of them, which is a huge thing for me. If they pop up and say there's it shows you in the base roughly how many of these things you should be looking for, and I'm like, that's very manageable. I could get all of them not really trying, and then you realize there's some invisible holographic walls dotted around the place, and there's one so close to the start of the game that I cannot believe I missed. I was like, what else is this game hiding from me? So I really, really like it. I don't know why, but before it came out, I was like, this looks pish. I just wasn't convinced by it whatsoever. I don't know if it's because it took so long to come around, and there's this thing in the back of my head that's like, Capcom just can't keep hitting like this. There's got to be one of these is going to come out and be like, oh yeah, it was okay, but it was a 6 out of 10 situation. But I'm super impressed with it. The interesting reviews. I was not expecting the super high scores that it got from a lot of places, and I also kind of wasn't expecting some of the kind of cooler opinions on it. I think it's a very strong kind of 4 out of 5, and I think that a lot of people in our Discord at least, who had already pre-ordered it, they were like, I was kind of hoping it would be a 75 on Metacritic, and it's sitting way higher than that. So it's a nice little success story. Do you think
I wonder how much of that is just like you were saying, that we don't get a lot of games like this anymore. It is this self-contained, short adventure, and I wonder if reviewers in particular are enjoying that kind of.
I also thought this.
Yeah,
I thought this in the wake of all the Crimson Desert shit. It's oh wow, what a pleasure this is to just fly through. It's you could do it in a couple of evenings, but obviously that leads into the conspiracy theories of people only said Crimson Desert was shit because it's 200 hours. Wow.
Exactly.
It's no,
I don't know. I thought it was shit in the first hour. So Seemed like a pretty easy.
I haven't played that game. Every time I see someone move a character in it, I'm like, no thanks. Got plenty of other things to do. The team of the season on FC26 starts pretty soon. I've got things to be getting on with here.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the marathon mid-season update just hit, I've got people to stab.
Let me ask you about this marathon, because I cannot believe how much you like it. So
yeah,
me and Andy of Video Games Chronicle, the parish you may have heard of, jumped in and played a couple of games, and I like the mission system. I think it's quite an interesting overarching kind of mechanic for like, okay, you have this mission per run, you go and do it. We were both just very confused by what was going on, and we got very sidetracked by the sheer amount of items, and we're like, what should we be picking up here? Like, it feels like everyone we're running into is like killing us in one shot, and the person who is with us had a mission to like down 12 runners, and we were like, we're on like the second mission here, so he's not going to want to help us go and shoot some red goo. Like, he's want to go and run off and engage with people that we can't help him with. We can be like meat shields. So it was a very you played it a lot solo, which was incredible to me, because that feels like it would be a real patience tester. Like, did you get a lot like out of that, or are you preferring playing it with like more people?
Playing it with people has been fun. Playing it with people is actually like a little less intense, I find, which is, at the level that I'm playing at, which is not like end game, super high level, whatever. Because everyone's got something they're working on. You're just kind of like shooting the shit on chat and just making your way through. And then, but ultimately you still have to kind of listen, because it's very much a footsteps kind of game. Like, you need to listen to see, like, okay, I heard a door open. Those are not robot footsteps. I heard this. This is here. And so there's that aspect of it that voice chat actually kind of fucks up. But it's a lot easier to progress because you have 3 contracts that are active at a time, whereas solo you just have 1. And so you're not getting XP or any kind of faction rep for other people's contracts when you play alone. But playing alone, patience is the thing, and it becomes a horror movie. Like, it becomes like, okay, like, I am extremely squishy. But I think the other thing I would say is you could probably help that guy to go off and kill people. Especially at the level that you're matchmaking at, like, you're not getting to end game other players that are super deep into a game into it, and so you would probably it becomes a skill thing as much as a gear thing. Like, the gear definitely helps. If you have a better shield, you have a better shield, end of the day. But it's really a game about positioning, and it's really a game about just using what you have intelligently. And I found it to be like that. To me, is a much more engaging game than what the end game is turning into, where people are finishing Cryo Archive and coming out of it with like one of a handful of like prestige weapons and then bringing them back into the other level. Like, I think the roll of the dice, I've just got this stuff and most of it is shit, and we're going to get out there and kill our way to something better. Like, that to me is where that game really shines. I had a moment like a couple of days ago when I was playing it, and I don't intend to be like a rat or a camper or whatever, but I was crawling around an area, just kind of keeping quiet, and there are like these little chemical showers with like flaps, and you can, and I was standing in one of those, and I heard footsteps, and I was like, oh shit, I'm right here. I'm gonna sit right here and stare at this door for a couple of minutes. And sure enough, someone came through, just fucking smoked him.
Nice.
And as I was getting out to go loot his shit, I heard more footsteps and just crept back into the little shower behind the flaps. That guy came in, saw some shit went down, smoked him, and then a third guy came in after that and got him too. And so like that feeling of like, I just wasn't even intending to do, like, I'm just out here looking for some hard drives or looking for whatever, so that I can get out of here. But along the way, 3 people ran in here, and I took care of all of them just because I was paying attention, was quiet, and was listening to what was coming my way. And that to me is where the skill kind of like, it's like aiming at players and shooting them and whatever. Like, that is certainly a part of it, right? It is still a competitive shooter at the end of the day, but I think you can win fights that you think you maybe should not have won if you are just a little bit faster, a little bit smarter, and using your character abilities properly.
Yeah. Like, it's a very boring thing to say about Marathon because everyone does. I love all the stuff around it. Like when my television turns on in my room, I'm like blinded by these blues and greens. Like I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think I need to lock in a bit more. That experience of really like get a good pair of headphones, like get really like sucked into it. I'm kind of more interested in. I suppose me and Andy are veterans of Verdansk, so we're in a Warzone mindset, and I absolutely loved Warzone for so many years, and that's it's much lower stakes. Like I feel like with especially with the Gulag and stuff like that, like so much of Warzone is just sitting around talking and like, oh, there's someone over there, should we pick up this contract and actively hunt them down? You can play it in a lot of different kind of ways, whereas Marathon, and I don't know if this was a case of maybe something else came in around the same time, I can't quite remember, but it's always the way in this job where like you try to play something in your own time and something gets dropped. Just to bring it right back around, do you think you're going to finish off Pragmata? Like you're pretty much there, you just knock it out.
I'm in the mines area now, so I've seen enough stuff to know that I at least need to finish the game. And it has a lower difficulty setting. Pragmata does. If if people feel like they are not able to kind of wrap their mind around the combat, I think that they let you kind of not cheat through it, but the easy mode looks like, from the descriptions of it I've seen, it sounds like it's quite easy indeed. There's also an auto. Did you buy the auto hacking upgrade?
Oh yeah, it's great. You just press
Is it
button,
good?
it goes.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
I have not purchased it because I'm like, I want to use that currency on other like gun upgrades or something like that. But yeah, there is, if you just straight up want to spend gauge energy on hacking instead of having to do it yourself, you can just click in a stick and do it. That shows up maybe about halfway through the game.
Yeah, that stuff's good. However, that takes away from the same bar that your like alt does, and I think the animation for that is so cool that I wanted to pop it as much time as possible. So yeah, it's where I'm at now, and I'm still playing it because there's stuff you get to do afterwards that's kind of non-traditional. I'm still really enjoying the combat, and they're throwing stuff at me that's, I feel like I'm wringing the last kind of bits of sweetness out of it, but it's still solid. Like there will be things happening that we need to move on to in this endless cycle of playing games, but I've really enjoyed my time with it so far. However, there's little mini cabins all around the space station, and I'm missing like 3 of those fuckers, and I have no idea where they are. So
I've only found 3 so far. I need to spend some time. The game is good about pointing out where objects are, except for those. That's kind of the only thing that is truly hidden. But the game's pretty good about pointing you towards all of the upgrade materials and chests and mods and all of the stuff in there. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, Marathon is I haven't been able to play quite as much of it lately just because other games have been coming in. But it got me in a way that I did not expect, especially like I played a fair amount of Arc Raiders, and the complaint that you're having about like, I don't know what items matter, like that's how I felt about Arc Raiders. For me, it Marathon is a lot better if you plot out what you want to accomplish before you go in. There's not like hey, we just want to go in and win. Like it's not like Warzone where you just go in and say like, okay, we want to be the last ones alive. It's more about, okay, we have our contracts, but also what am I working towards on the upgrade tree? Like, am I like, what upgrade do you want? For the longest time, I was like, okay, I want to upgrade my knife because the knife is extremely powerful and devious and quiet, more importantly. And so upgrading knife damage was a big one for a while. And so you go and look and see like, okay, these are the materials I need for the knife upgrade. It will let you highlight them so that whenever they show up in a chest, they've got a little mark next to them. So you can know like, okay, oh, this is the stupid goo that I need for the knife. And it'll help you kind of prioritize that stuff. And I found that having multiple goals like that means that no run ever felt like a true failure unless you're just getting stomped out in the first 20 seconds, which did happen. And also I like the sponsored kits, the free kits that don't pull from your vault. Like they're not great, but they're not supposed to be great. But generally speaking, they've been good enough for me to,
you can do a job.
Yeah, to get in there and do what I need to do.
So go forward with Marathon. Like this is perhaps the live service question. Like, is it a case of adding like more companies to give you contracts? Like, what is the thing that keeps it is it your daily driver right now? I know you were doing for a long time. You're doing like a couple of bits of Call of Duty every day. Like, is it replaced that? Like, what does it have to do to be that for you?
It did replace that, but now I've been playing Pragmata. I've been playing other stuff, so it's been a little bit since I've had like a really disgusting amount of marathon, time. But yeah, like I haven't touched when Call of Duty Season 3 came out, I loaded it up and looked at the battle pass and was just like looked at the characters. It was just like, I don't want to fucking do this.
Any good skins? Any good stupid skins? Have they started doing that again? I can't remember if they're currently in like a we are not doing this. Phase.
They are doing that, but they're not there yet. My understanding is that for 420 this year, they are adding Dave Chappelle.
Of
Half-Baked fame.
Yeah. Interesting. Not Afro Man, considering the news. That's a bit of surely.
I feel like Activision takes too long to get to capitalize on actual news. Maybe next year, Modern Warfare 4 will launch with Afro Man. But no, that's like Marathon definitely replaced Call of Duty like immediately for me for that stuff, and also like Call of Duty is extremely boring. This year, and I say that as someone who like hit like Prestige 6 during Season 1 and played the end game mode up to like I fully leveled 4 characters in the end game mode and was like, okay, this is kind of neat. And they started adding stuff to end game over the seasons, but a lot of it is shitty or just like not like the Fallout event they did was kind of interesting because you're fighting death claws in the middle of it and whatever, but all of their events, like they started with cool events like, hey, there is a giant robot walking around, or hey, there's like a giant monster that you all need to get together and fight, and that stuff was interesting, but they haven't really the events they've added to the end game world since then have not been super engaging. So
that monster
I just
was
haven't really...
the military industrial complex. Think about it. That's the real monster we have to fight. Call of Duty's in a weird spot for me. Today on patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, we watched the 2010 Xbox E3 press conference, and that kicked off with Black Ops, the first Black Ops. And it's like, man, Call of Duty used to be Call of Duty, and it's like, fuck, I'd kill for it. And then they went from that into like Halo Reach and Gears 3, and it's like, fuck, how did you guys let this slip? That was very quickly answered because the back 40 minutes of that show is Connect stuff, and there's guys from ESPN that are on the stage longer than the Halo section, and it's like, maybe people give the Xbox One too much credit for the downfall of this establishment. It was happening. The rot was setting in before that happened.
Oh yeah, they definitely, it was like the Connect year at E3 where they had everybody wear the clear raincoats or whatever, like the light up, like their cult year was I think the year
cult
we were
year?
Like, well, internally it's been a cult for decades, but when they finally made the press put on glowing outfits or whatever, it was like, okay, this is, you guys are maybe losing it here.
2010 was the year that ended with Don Matrick coming out and going, and we're shipping the new Xbox to people in this theater now, and everyone goes, woo, free Xboxes. They were silent for the rest of the show, and the second they said they were getting a free Xbox, it was like Steve Austin came back. Glory days, man.
What a fucking show. There's I mean, of all the Xbox press conferences, that's probably one of the most pivotal, right? I mean, because that is the kind of we're nearing the end of Bungie's time on Halo with Reach, and then I mean, Call of Duty is
Gears 3, the last time that franchise was like where it's never been bigger than at Gears 3. That was like the apex, and it's like I'm looking forward to E-Day, but I do not know how you do a Gears of War game in year 27 or whenever it's going to come out. So I think I've been thinking a lot about the Xbox stuff recently because obviously PlayStation's had a weird gen, but they basically got away with it because Xbox is totally conceded, and it's like, where did this actually all fall apart? Because when you go back through the annals, it's obviously the Xbox One stuff was the memification. But like towards the end of the Xbox One gen, they were kind of putting it together. Like the One X is a nice console. It's £5,000 in weight. Like it's the heaviest console ever made. But things were like going together, and they just keep tripping over like their own feet over and over again. And I don't know if that's just a case of the size of the company. They were like fighting a losing battle, but they've strung the software together just as they've conceded to put everything on PlayStation. Like, it's such a weird situation. I know it's been done to death, but that conference today really threw it into stark relief of like, man, this was actually when it started going downhill, not 2013.
I remember going to an event. I think it might have been 2010, but it might have been later. But I guess it was the first kind of big Connect year. But they had rented out like a really like fancy spot and just filled it full of Connect demos. And we're just like walking from demo station to demo station playing Connect games and Connect Adventures and Connectimals and like all of the kind of early lineup for that stuff. And I remember walking around and thinking like, this stuff, like it works. Like, it's not that it doesn't work, but it just feels, it's like I think a lot of platform holders go through this in different ways. But it was the first time that, like, looking back on it, it's much easier to say this, but it's the first time that you saw them go, okay, we got this other stuff wrapped up. This is under control. People love Halo. They love Gears. We need to reach a mainstream audience. Sega did it with the Genesis, with the Mega Drive. They eventually went from, okay, we've got all of these kind of hardcore games that are for teens and an older audience than the NES, to then suddenly like, oh, we're the biggest thing in the world, and now here's a Garfield game, and here's like all of these kind of late era kids games and some of the other stuff that they started putting out was just like so off the mark, because like they published a Magic School Bus game for the Genesis. Like they really were trying to reach a younger audience once the price got cut to a level where maybe younger kids would get it, or get it as a hand-me-down or whatever. And they were never the same after that. And now it feels like Microsoft is in that exact same boat, where they took their eye off the ball. Some other market factors came into play. It's not like the competitors were just sitting around doing nothing, but they took their eye off the ball, and it immediately went to shit for them. And
it's like at the same time in that 2010 period, Sony is making the bet on like, okay, let's get Uncharted up to like this crazy high level. They're working on Last of Us at that point. They're doing the Kevin Butler stuff, which in retrospect super corny, but at the time was like, it was feeding red meat to the base in the console war era that won them back a lot of fans. And then the Microsoft lost like the most pivotal gen, where everyone got thousands of digital games, and at that point it's like, I have thousands of digital games on all platforms, but that's because we are maniacs that have that option. But imagine you've been a PlayStation player since PS4, and now they're trying to convince you to come over to Helix, and it's like, well, no, like I can't. It's not like in an old generation where, say, I was a PlayStation player up till PlayStation 3 and I'm swapping to Xbox. I can sell all this physical shit I have. Like, you're kind of stuck with what you have. So it's it's only going to continue to be a bigger problem. But I suppose it's not a fight anymore. Like, the three of them are all doing such different things. It's where we are running out of days where we do like the Nintendo and PlayStation and Xbox siloing, where it's all just different conversations now. Yeah.
I would have thought that the Nintendo conversation would have changed by now. I was a big believer in, kind of pre-release, like a lot of the Switch 2 stuff, and looking at where third-party pain points were with how expensive games has gotten to make and everything else. I thought that we would have maybe started to see more of a shift in direction where, like, okay, we're really going to support Switch 2 with our big third party, and most of that stuff comes, but and we're going to really focus on Switch 2 and just port everything up for everything else, because no one can afford these GPUs anyway, and you might as well just. And that was before RAM prices were bad, but that just never really materialized. And now when we talk about like Steam machines and the spec on that, and I don't know, like it's interesting. I thought that game developers would be aiming a little bit lower across the board by now, and it doesn't seem to quite have happened.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, what do you make of the James Bond news this week? Like, I feel like that story of the Switch versions being delayed, but the other versions are coming out fine, has happened a couple of times now. Obviously, Borderlands was like a like the nuclear situation where we are binning this thing off, unless you have a Russian game key card, in which case it apparently works. But with First Light, it's like, okay, I'm keen to see, because Capcom, fair play to them, I've not played the Switch 2 version of Pragmata, but I've seen the Switch 2 version of Resi. It doesn't look like a PlayStation 5 game, but it looks totally fine. It's like somewhere in that 4 to PS4 Pro range, which if you're playing handheld looks sublime. So I do wonder how it kind of cracks on. I'm also curious to see what the third party story is in terms of sales as the Switch 2 continues, because there is a game from a big publisher that was a launch third party game that in the UK, if I'm remembering this correctly, in the UK sold less than 100 units on its opening week as a physical third-party Switch 2 game. This game has been on other platforms before and stuff like that, but the Cyberpunks do really well. Like, the big games are going to do really well, but is everyone going to find success over there? It's kind of a weird
that's always been the
situation.
problem with Switch, with third-party stuff on Switch, right? You know, like Bethesda was putting a lot of stuff there, and you know, sometimes the game itself would be a mess. Sometimes the game would be
a Bethesda
surprisingly
game?
good. I know. This I saw the reports. You know, we're Pete Hines is in the news, which is great. But I saw the reports that Starfield on PS5, like that they had to put out a statement saying like we know we're working on it. And I was just like, man, some things just never change. Like that game's 2 years, however old it is now, other versions of it, and they still managed to launch with you know, having to kind of backpedal and apologize for it. And I'm like, yeah, Bethesda's just always going to be this at the end of the day. But the Switch stuff, like you had these big third party games that would surprisingly sell really well on Switch 1, and then games would come out and just no one would even notice because they were playing them somewhere else, or it just wasn't what the Switch audience was looking for. I think there's a bit of a sometimes, and the Switch 1 audience I think changed over time, but I think for a long time there, the Switch 1 audience was largely comprised of people who played games on a lot of platforms, and they weren't looking for the Switch to be their third-party machine. They were looking to buy first-party games on it, and you saw that bear out in the sales and everything else. And so I think the problem Nintendo's had for a long time is, weirdly enough, how do you branch out and reach new players? Like, their stuff appeals to kids. Kids are now sucked into the Roblox machine. It's why they're doing all these movies and theme parks and everything, is because they realize like there's no reliable path into their games just by virtue of them being games anymore. Like, they don't have that built-in advantage the way that they used to, because now kids are playing stuff on tablets and phones and are never interacting with a Nintendo property in the way that they used to.
I think the Switch story is interesting. On that point, they're an IP company now. Like, when they are currently advertising Super Mario Galaxy 2, hell of a game, but this is the game they are promoting for the new film, and it's like the Switch 2 is the home of Mario and Friends. Here are all these games of some of them are new, some of them are older, some of them are like terrible expansions to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like, all that kind of stuff is all happening at the same time. Whereas, I wonder if that's really enough where a child can go to a parent and go, oh, can I get this thing? How much is it? 400 quid. And it's like, what, to play games? You can already play games on like all these other different devices. And there was also an interesting, I don't know if you saw much of this on TikTok, but when Pacopia was coming out, Game of the Year by the way, was coming out, a lot of people were like, why isn't this on my Switch? Like, a lot of people who got into the Switch from like the Animal Crossing craziness around the pandemic, and they see all of their stuff coming out on Switch, and maybe they're not as sensitive to the idea of like games being too powerful to run on stuff that normal people shouldn't have to understand. They're just like, I don't understand why this one that looks like Animal Crossing, even though it looks a lot better than Animal Crossing, why isn't this one on my thing? What do you mean I need to spend 400 quid to get this thing? And I wonder if they're running into those kind of like upgrade pain points with the more hardcore player, and if the new Animal Crossing would be a thing to push people into that.
Maybe, yeah. I think there's, you know, the casual audience not understanding upgrades. I think that's like a tale as old as time. Like, you'd find all the old news reports of Super Nintendo launch times and moms in stores going like, why do I need to get the new machine for the new tapes? The old tapes work fine, and it doesn't play my old tapes. Like, you know, all the backwards compatibility stuff, and at least that's solved. But But yeah, I think there's just a certain and it, you know, when we think about the other devices in a lot of those people's lives, like it takes a long time for an iPhone app to stop working on an iPhone. Like after, you know, the number of changes to their architecture and everything, like you have decade-old iPhone apps that still run, and game consoles are largely the same way with backwards compatibility these days too. And so I think there is sort of a problem that they've never had to confront before, because maybe this is the first game machine they've purchased in 30 years or something. And so they're like, what the fuck is a Switch 2? It looks like the same thing. I don't understand. Like, well, you know, I guess that it makes sense, but I don't know how you really navigate that other than having great games that convince them to like, okay, fine, I guess I need to go and get one of these anyway. And
they're probably not content, but they probably expect that the Switch 2 won't be another Switch. It'll be a highly successful console, but not the situation where the Switch finds itself where it's going to beat the PS2. Like you get one of those every like 10 generations, and the Switch had the bonus fact of the pandemic, which Nintendo engineered to sell more copies of Animal Crossing.
Exactly.
So
yes,
I think if they really want to shift more copies of Pokemon Winds and Waves, then 2027, big year for airborne illnesses.
COVID is back. They need to come up with something new. No one believes in COVID anymore because we're too dumb.
Wovid, like the Wario of COVID.
Woke COVID. I like it.
Woke COVID. I've been suffering woke COVID since I don't know how long. You seen this Pragmata? There's a little girl in it. Why couldn't that have been a little boy? Think about it.
Let's take a break. While everyone thinks about it. When we'll come right back and we'll talk about I think some more video games. Pokemon Champions, maybe. We'll be right back. I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it. I've thrown out, at least 10 pairs of underwear as I work on replacing all of this ancient, blown out stuff that I've been wearing for far too long. In its place, I am rotating in the finest underwear that money can buy. It's MeUndies. MeUndies is so comfortable. They've got a variety of styles, a cut for all of you, 10 different styles, boxer, briefs, jocks, straps, and their signature ball caddy pouch underwear designed to keep everything in place. And yes, it is comfortable. MeUndies' signature softer than soft ultra-modal fabric is breathable, stretchy, unbelievably cozy. You can wear it all day long. I am wearing a pair right now this morning. I intend to wear it for the rest of the day. I might wear it tomorrow. No, come on. That's just for sanitary reasons. I mean, they can stand up to it. I'm convinced. But I'm going to do the responsible thing and put on a different pair of MeUndies underwear tomorrow. They use sustainably sourced materials. They work with partners that care for their workers. And if you're not happy with your first pair of undies, it's on MeUndies. You'll love them. They've sold more than 30 million pairs, and they have 90,000 five-star reviews everywhere around the world. People are making the switch. And right now, you can too. You can get up to 50% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Jeff. Promo code Jeff. That's up to 50% off plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Jeff. And the promo code is Jeff. Jordan, you're a Pokemon weirdo.
What makes you say that? Is it is it this guy that makes you say that?
Now, is that the 1-to-1? Is that actual size? Is that supposed to be the actual size of a Pikachu?
Sure is. This is Welcome Back Pikachu. It is a release from your friends and mine at Takara Tomy. This is the perfect recreation of the original 1996 plush. That I like. I'm doing this as like a QVC kind of situation where he arrived from Japan to Paisley recently. It's very soft. He has a little tag here that is a recreation. The only difference is the Takara Tomy logo has slightly changed in the years since. But
so it's worthless then as a collector's list.
It's worthless, but let me tell you, Macari via Bai still took 50 of my British pounds for him. So Pokemon, man, it's pretty class. It's good. Pokemon Champions is a battle simulator. Essentially, it is the battling part of Pokemon. You are taking your Pokemon.
Now, this is the part that people have made websites and third-party bootlegs for. Like, is this Nintendo or the Pokemon company coming in saying like, dude, like we gotta
They're like
clearly people want this. We need to just make a thing.
Pokemon Showdown, never heard of it anyway. Pokemon Champions, yeah, it's very much it's a stepping stone. So the problem is people, the Pokemon fans, very, very passionate, let's say. And because of this, they've made things like Pokemon Showdown over the years that are as far as I'm aware, a 1-to-1 recreation of the battle mechanics of the Pokemon games. So players who don't want to practice in game or want to experiment with different teams and things like this, do it in Showdown. The idea of Champions is to become this unified thing where you take your Pokemon from Pokemon Home, which is their overarching PC. It takes Pokemon from all the compatible games. You put them into Champions, and that's where the battles happen. That's where the battles will happen for the World Championships. Like, it's meant to be a nice kind of official video game looking thing where the championships typically is just in game in whatever the most recent game is. So they're playing Scarlet and Violet, and it's like we're having a match on like the training arena, and it doesn't look that good. This is esports. This is Poke Esports. So I've been getting into it. At launch, there's 183 compatible Pokemon. So far, they are only doing Pokemon that are fully evolved or Pokemon that don't evolve, with the exception of Pikachu, obviously. Sure. And there's just a subsection of them. They're doing this. They have like a set of Pokemon that are legal for this bracket. I spoke to the games director at a recent Pokemon event, and he was like, eventually, I would like all of the Pokemon to be in this game, and I would like all of the weird mechanics to be in this game, and I would like them all to be able to battle each other. But we don't know how that's going to work, so we're just going to get this out and let it play. So it's interesting. It's a lot of veteran. In Pokemon, competitive Pokemon battling is known as VGC. When I refer to VGC, it means Pokemon VGC, not Video Games Chronicle. So it's a lot of veteran VGC players bringing their knowledge and strategies against a whole bunch of new players who are playing free to play and seeing the rub of that. It's interesting. I was worried beforehand because it's free to play or free to start or whatever they say. However, if you're engaging with this battling Pokemon game, you probably own another Pokemon game, meaning that it's very easy to get virtually every Pokemon without problems. And this game, in a big change to the franchise, lets you change stats. It costs virtual points or whatever to change the stats. So that's one way they monetize, but it's quite cheap to do that. It's not like it could be much worse. They could have dialed this in such a way that it was like crazy, but you can you catch your Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet or ZA, and you bring them into Champions and you battle. If you don't have any of those games, you can recruit teams or recruit Pokemon from the roster ranch. You may have seen on social media, they have a little gacha animation where it's like, what Pokemon's this? What Pokemon's this? Oh, it's this Pokemon. You can get shiny Pokemon in there. That is the only bit that's like, oh, this is kind of scummy. This is maybe a bit monetizable. Again, they could have really hammered on that. It's more, it's not as predatory as it could have been. Maybe because the Pokemon company has more money than God, so they don't need to monetize the kids in this way. But it's an interesting one. I don't think this game will bring in anyone, at least for now, that doesn't already have at least a passing knowledge of the VGC. If you came into this with no idea what the VGC was, or how weather mechanics work, or how all these other things work, you would get stomped immediately and go, I don't understand why this Pokemon made it rain, and therefore this Pokemon just killed my Pokemon immediately, and I had no recourse as to what to do. So they're starting with the hardcores, making the hardcores happy, which they're not happy. They're never happy. And
I was going to say, this game is like locked at 30 frames per second. Like, I've not seen any positivity around this whatsoever. I've just seen people like shitting on it and going like, I'm sticking to my bootleg website.
Did you see the fact that if you took the Switch 2 out of the dock and then put it back in, it doubled the resolution? Which is
amazing.
I don't even know how that works. Like, you start it docked, take it out, put it back in, the resolution doubles. Is that infinite? Can I just make the resolution higher and higher until my Switch 2 explodes?
Until your TV starts to smoke?
I've got a nice TV, but I don't know how high this is going to get. So yeah, I've enjoyed screwing around with it. I have a higher than average knowledge of the VGC, but I hit a certain rank and then people are like smoking me. So I'm like, okay, I'll come back when maybe there's more tutorialization, or maybe there's some single player, more hardcore content. That's the tutorialization stuff will get you to a certain level, but this is a game you have to have YouTube open and like another screen and have someone building teams. Like there's a big TikTok community of like, hey guys, this weather team took me to Master Ball rank 4 and it's so broken. And it's like, here's mechanics working together that they haven't like patched out yet. So do this quickly and get up to Master Ball rank. It's a lot of balancey stuff.
The meta. Let's talk about the current meta.
Let's talk the only meta I care about, Jeff. Metapod. Let's talk about him. One of the best Kanto Pokemon. Beautiful big green guy. It's funny that Champions has happened after they had so much goodwill from Pokopia. It's like Pokopia happens. Everyone loves this game. They're like, oh, they made a game that runs well and it's beautiful and it's really fun and it's getting all these incredible scores. And it's like, let me take you back. Let's run it back to where Pokemon is really at.
Now here's some real trash for you to play with the lights out, surrounded by fast food wrappers because you've been inside building your team. Yeah, it's I don't know, like that's. I guess it's kind of cool that they're making something that caters to like Pokemon kind of competitive sickos at all. Yeah. Because they haven't really catered to them super well. Like you said, you know, the championship's just kind of being played on the latest game. I don't know. Like if they get to a point where they've got every Pokemon, because that to me was always, again, as someone who played like Red and Gold and then said I'm good until and like Snap. Like to me as an outsider, the ideal would always be you always want every Pokemon in there at all times. You want, you know, every like the one you remember needs to be in every single game. It was the thing I ran into a lot. Well, not a lot because it was not alive or viable for long enough. But with the Skylanders, as the Skylanders franchise would evolve from year to year, they started doing a lot of nasty stuff where it's like, oh, we did tell you that every character would work on every one of these games, and that's true. But this year's characters can be leveled to level 20, and last year's characters stop at level 10. And trust me, you're just gonna not like this. You're fucked, kid. You need a giant Skylander with a car. You need to put him in the car and put the car on the base and do this, or else. I mean, I guess if you want to be Drobot, you can just walk around. But and there was a lot of that where they just continued to. It's not necessarily a nerf, but it's definitely a state where like, oh, they're definitely guiding people into buying the new shit. And
those toys have got to come to life at some point. Like you can't just use your launch Spyro over and over again. You can't slam your Atlas Battle for Scarlink or whatever it was called into your power portal. Again, that's the meta. It's the same reason why Marathon is gonna, they're gonna throw out everybody's guns in a few months. That it's the sort of thing that when you first hear about it, you're like, no, I worked for those guns. Yeah. You assholes. What the fuck is wrong? Like, why would you make a video game like this? And then having played as much of it as I have now, I'm like, no, yeah, they will eventually have to. They will have to reset power on this and get everybody back to a base level, or else you end up with the Skylanders problem, or else like the meta out of control. All the old guns in Call of Duty are bad, but you can use them in Warzone if you want to, but don't, because you don't even get double XP for them. And like all of the other games that have tried to do multi-year strategies for gear always do it wrong. Yeah. While we were talking, I just realized that on my desk I have I don't know if that's going to pick up on the camera there, but that's a little Poplio sticker there.
Nice.
Obviously fortuitous. So I'm just gonna stick him right on the mic to commemorate me taking over as permanent host of this show.
Great. Yeah, I've been guest hosting it for a while, and it's time for me to move on. I've got other things I'm doing. So
this is our Conan and Jay Leno moment, where you'll leave for 5 minutes and then come back, and
I'll be hiding in a closet somewhere
with your cars.
Yeah.
You see when he fell and his like face got really, really like fucked up.
I feel like he's got a face like, just not to rub it in, but like the shape of his face, I feel like is conducive to getting fucked up in a fall.
Yeah.
He's pointy in ways that you're just like, oh yeah,
and he's
not going to go well.
He's been kicking a ball for a long time. Like he's a gentleman of advanced years. Like fair enough, popping back up from something like that. Because fuck me if I take a fall like that. I was just thinking the same thing, my brother.
This got sent to me, and this got sent from a friend in York. Sent this my way. No,
York.
No on York.
A dirty English bastard, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
York is fine. It's still England. That's the harsh reality of it.
Yeah. But I'm excited for this Vimto. What can you tell me about a Vimto Energy Zero?
So confusingly, it's pronounced Vimpto, Vimpto. At least it is in Scotland. They pronounce it Vimpto. It is famous for being purple. It's like a little. I think it might be grape adjacent, but Vimpto was always like a 6th or 7th tier can. Like if someone brought Vimto into school, you'd be like, why did your mom and dad buy Vimto of all things? So this rebrand into Vimto Energy. And I have a Vimto Energy tropical cooler that I'll get into after you fuck that one up. It was a surprise to me, to be sure.
It does smell like a bit of a grape.
Yeah.
But you know what? Actually, it just kind of smells like knockoff Red Bull. It smells like like when you go to a bar and they've got Red Bull on the gun and it's not real Red Bull. It smells like bootleg Red Bull.
I'm trying to find like yeah.
This is bootleg Red Bull.
That's
fine. But it says it has real fruit juice in it, which I don't even know what fruit this would be.
The Vim fruit. I think that's generally a requirement of most drinks in the UK. We still have some safety standards, not by much. Spoilers for my second drink, but look at the color of that. So we will get into some we'll get into some non shit here, but this is the tropical cooler. I'm expecting kind of a mango-ish hue out of this.
Like you could drink this. I wouldn't want a case of this, but
this tastes like it's like a pina colada kind of situation, I would say.
Yeah,
which is all right. It just makes me want to drink. It makes me want to get a blackout drunk on this broadcast, as I'm sure we'll get into in the 4th hour of it. But
of course,
yeah, it's okay. Again, I'm never reaching for this. I had to walk past 15 varieties of Monster to get to this Vimto, and I was like, I'll come back for you boys later. Like I've got to experiment here. So it's not incredible. I'm more interested in a product of my homeland, naturally. Power Brew Energy Dynamo Fruit Punch from the people who brought you Iron Brew,
nice.
the Bar Corporation. I'm trying to see what kind of percentages we've got in here. We're pretty bad for caffeine content. 32 mg per 100 ml. That feels like it's kind of It's kind of standard. It's not. I wouldn't call it Power Brew, but.
And this is not even an energy drink, I think, right? This is just like Iron Brew Extra Unicorn Tears.
Oh, Christ.
I don't even know if that has...
We'll get into... This is... Okay, so this is actually blue, which is a good start.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh, that's got a lot more carbonation to it than I was expecting. It's like... When I see a fruit punch, I expect like a purple Rockstar situation or a red Rockstar situation. This is more like a kind of a blackberry. Like a carbonated blackberry, which is not bad. Super fizzy. It's not a zero cal one though, so it can't become part of the roster like Zero Cal Monster or Death. And that's what the tattoo says. But yeah, it's okay. I'll nurse it for the rest of the show. You have an Iron Brew Unicorn Tears.
Yes, Unicorn Tears in the short can, which is always a weird. And you don't see a lot of these over here, but
yeah. So give us a first impression. I'm gonna say bubblegum. That's my first guess.
It's like it's not as bubblegummy as I would say like base level Iron Brew is. Like it's more. There's almost like a ginger.
Oh, I could see that. A lot of ginger beer going on in the UK. Yeah.
There's a little more of a ginger beer-ish sort of thing going on here. It's okay. Again, I would never, like have the new flavors of like, can you get Punk Punch in your area yet, or is that
is this a monster? I've had a Punk Punch because every time I land in the United States, because I send you a text of what drink I'm drinking. I have had a Punk Punch in the United States, but it's not quite crossed the street yet. I think it's on the list to eventually come here. Like I think it will get a release eventually. We get all of them eventually, but I paid £5 for a single can of Great Monster the other day because I wanted it so badly, and it's just not something you can get over here. It really makes me sad. But on your Unicorn Tears, the reason unicorn is the national animal of Scotland purely because in mythology unicorns kill lions and the lion is the national animal of England and we are a petty nation. But because Iron Brew is so popular here, more popular than Coca-Cola. I'm pretty sure it's still the only country in the world where that's the case. Bar, the company that makes it, they just go fucking crazy. Every year, 2 new flavors. Doesn't matter what it is. It'll be like, here's ice cream Iron Brew. Here's fucking Terps Iron Brew. Here's WD-40 at the beach Iron Brew. And people get a couple of them and go, yeah, that's all right. They had Fiery Iron Brew for a while, which had like a real kind of cinnamony, like, you know, the fire aniseed, is it? Like Fireball sweets, like the kind of those, it was like those in a drink. Very, very, like, you felt it. I felt like if you put some like vodka in there, it'd be like, okay, this is cleaning me out. This is like giving me what I need.
Yeah, that's, if I was still drinking like that, that would be, well, if I was still drinking like that, both of these would actually be great with vodka.
Yeah.
These would both work very, very well with that. But
for a good long while there, we were doing a lot of blue Powerade in vodka, calling it a power bomb, which went down very clean. And I also felt like you were like, you know, I'm getting some caffeine here. I'm getting some electrolytes. I'm getting back in the game. Like, this is all I need.
It's you're fighting the hangover as you're giving yourself the hangover. You can theoretically drink forever if you drink those. Let's take one more break here, and then we'll come back. And I don't know, maybe there's some video game stuff happening. I'm not sure anymore. We'll be right back. Eating food, it's easy, but sometimes fitting it into your busy day can be a challenge, and that makes it easier than I'd like to admit to just straight up miss meals. It's not good. With Factor, you can hit your nutrition goals without having to do the planning, grocery runs, or even the cooking. Factor meals are fast and they are built around your goals. Whether that's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, GLP-1 support if you're doing that whole thing. And for strength and workout recovery, they've got a Muscle Pro collection. No matter what you're into, each meal is crafted with functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans over 175 ingredients. There's no artificial colors or sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no refined seed oils, just nutrient-dense food. It's fresh, it's never frozen, and it shows up for you. You get a nice box at your doorstep. You just sock that away, and they're all portioned out. They're very easy to prepare and eat in 2 minutes. Factor shops, preps, cooks, and delivers straight to your door so that you've got more time for everything else you've got going on. It's just how it goes sometimes, right? They got new stuff, too, with vibrant ingredients like elote corn, miso edamame, 70-plus add-ons to round out your nutrition, from green juices to peanut butter energy bites. And there's a new deal. Head to factormeals.com/JeffG50off and use the code JeffG50off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See the website for more details. I'm eating a Factor meal right now. Get in on this. I'm looking at videogameschronicle.com.
I wouldn't.
Which is a website. I like the change that was made recently that makes the text kind of pop all in and change size. Like, I was like, oh, that's a neat little trick. Says here, and I got an email last night saying the same thing, so I believe it to be true. Bloodborne is back.
Good.
Finally.
New game. Here we go. I'll see you later. I'm going to go and play it right now.
All right. 60 frames per second, I hope. Bloodborne is returning as an animated movie, and they made very clear, like they made it a big part of this announcement to let you know it's an R-rated animated movie. Yes. Like in the email, like everything I've seen about it has been like they are stressing to people, no, this is not going to be Bloodborne for kids. I don't. Why would anyone think that? It feels like a dumb thing to say about it. But they announced that this is in the works. And also producing. So this Sony is involved in this along with PlayStation Productions. They're developing it along with a company called Lyrical Animation and content creator Jacksepticeye, whose name is Sean.
Yes.
Not even Jack, apparently.
No. This is very, very strange. I believe this came out of CinemaCon. I know you were there. You were treading the boards at CinemaCon. Super
definitely.
excited.
I missed this particular thing because I was in the back doing drugs.
Yes.
But
out of your Yoshi popcorn bucket, just a big mountain of skag. Yeah. I don't. their relationship with Bloodborne is so peculiar. Like, they'll do a pop-up shop and they'll like refer to it in a load of marketing and things like that, but it's almost as if once you mention the fact that it was ever a game, they like scurry away. They're like, no, it's a multimedia IP that we just happen to own a part of. I'm sure this will be cool. I think I agree that R rating thing's bizarre. It's like, that game is absolutely disgusting. How could you possibly do it without making it an R rating? Like, it's gonna just have Father Gascoigne with his chopper out. Like, is that where we're going with this?
I would assume so. It's, you know, no details on the plot or who's directing it or anything like that, and so, you know, this feels like one of those announcements that could just get wrapped up in some kind of development hell. But actually, weirdly enough, the thing about this that makes me read it and go, oh, this will definitely come out, is literally the part where Jacksepticeye is involved. Yep. Because there's a part of it, it's like, oh, they wouldn't have done this if it wasn't like a passion thing that is going to get forced through. And it also says to me that, like, hey, we're not expecting this to be some massive thing. And those are the sorts of things that I feel like do end up happening.
Yeah, and also as a content creator and a very public-facing person, he is staking a lot and being attached to this and not being hounded forever with what happened to that Bloodborne movie. Like, I totally agree with you on that. Sony's had a couple of big wins at like putting anime stuff in cinemas recently. Like, the Demon Slayer movie did really well. Like, maybe they're seeing that there's a certain amount of money we can spend on this where we have a baked-in audience that are going to go and see this thing when we put it in the cinema for 2 weekends, and then it goes on streaming, and then it goes on whatever else. Like, I thought this was interesting. I think that Bloodborne sets itself up to be something that could look very cool animated. Like, the From storytelling is loose in such a way that it's a nice kind of environment to play in. I don't think people will be too precious about the story, because a lot of the fans argue about what the story is to begin with. So you can you can mess about with that somewhat. So yeah, I'd be keen to. I hope this doesn't go the way of that Astrobot car and just never spoke about it ever again, because
did you ever see the car? I don't know if they brought it to your neck of the woods, but maybe it's because I'm close to LA, I had multiple opportunities to go and sit in one of those and never took the.
You stupid bastard! You should have been one of the only people to sit in the Astrobot car. Like,
I could have pre-ordered one. I was thinking, I was having trouble with my car and thinking I want an electric car anyway. Maybe it should just be this Astrobot car, but sadly,
that is I agree with you. I think this will happen. Every time I go on Netflix, there's like 5 more video game adaptation animes. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's cool that they've done that. Like, these things seem to, back in the day, these things would get announced and then disappear, and 1 or 2 of them would come out. They just come out all the time now. It's like, oh, Sophie what's her face was injured filming the new Lara Croft TV show, and I was like, oh, they actually did announce a new Lara Croft, and it's like, it's happening straight away. It's like the video game adaptation market is big business. I think
I'm still waiting for the Asteroids movie they announced, 30 years, 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, we need to make good on a lot of these bad ideas. This seems like, like you said, I think this fits the profile of, like, you do an anime thing. There's been a lot of that. Like, people talk really nicely about the Castlevania stuff that is on Netflix, and there's just been a better hit rate on this stuff, generally speaking. I think the only thing I'd say about Bloodborne is that as an IP, it is known to millions of players, but I don't know that it necessarily had the big mainstream breakthrough. Yeah. Like when they like the Elden Ring movie is happening as well. And I feel like at least there you've got a few, things you can lean on, where that game, I think numbers wise, ended up being
ridiculous. Like, Elden Ring did so well. I think Elden Ring's going to be a big deal. The one
that feels like a better choice than this. But again, this is just going to be an R-rated anime that is around for a little bit, and like you said, works its way through the streaming system. And so if they're budgeting this appropriately, no reason not to do it.
Yeah, and I fully believe that there's a lot of people in a lot of rooms being like there's this misconception that Sony are totally oblivious to the calls of people wanting a new Bloodborne game. Like, there are so many people inside of that company screaming to make it happen, and they know how much of a free win it would be. Like, hearts and minds stuff at the very least. Not least because it would actually be a pretty good game by all accounts, but yeah, I think it's an interesting situation. Sony doing this and doing the God of War series and all these the things with their IP. I think it reaffirms my theory that next gen they're going to double right back down on like, we are single player prestige. Our stuff doesn't go on PC. You buy this big box to play the single player prestige games from these single player prestige studios. What those live service things? That's Bungie. That's not actually us. Like, sorry, we spent all of the PS5 generation dicking around with this stuff, but we are back. Like, did you see that they scrubbed like all mention of PC off the one of Sony's websites? It's like they are bringing things back internally in some kind of hearts and minds state of play where they're like, we are back. We have a new Bloodborne going. They'll announce that Ape Escape they're making. Like, they'll announce all these different things that are happening, and people will be like, oh, the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation has tons of games. PlayStation 5 fans, oh, these aren't PlayStation 5 games, or PS6 games. Never mind. Oh, new handheld. You can get some stuff on this new handheld. So,
but like, aren't these also going to be PS5 guys? Like, that's the thing I kind of keep looking at is like, yeah, like all these PlayStation 6 games are going to be PlayStation 5 games. If they're really going to make a handheld that's not as strong as a PS5, they can't cut the PS5 out.
Yeah,
they won't.
How much stronger is a 6 going to be than this professional console that's sitting like a foot from me here? Like a
right. Yeah,
that new PSSR stuff is like, wow, that's a very, very impressive when it's all like working as intended. So I think the PlayStation 5 professional has knocked the next generation down a couple of years, and obviously the rest of the world has done that as well. But I think PlayStation are maybe thinking, do we maybe eke this out to like 29? Like, a 9-year generation would be a lot, and clearly not in their plans. Like, I feel like they wanted to get this thing out maybe next year or the following year, but then the world like fell apart. So yeah, I think
like their strategy is you know, I think some of it probably internally is still taking shape, right? Because they did have the leadership change, and after some, you know, like when someone new comes in to any job, they sit around for a while and just stare at stuff and go, how is it working right now? What's broken right now? What is the actual problem? And then they go, okay, I think we understand what the problem is. Let's move. And that's why now it's, hey, we're not putting this stuff on PC anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, we're making these changes and kind of moving in this direction. But ultimately, I think like their definition of a generation, of a console generation, if they really are going to ship 2 devices, even if they don't ship them at the same time, like maybe they stagger that. And, you know, someone emailed in last week and said, hey, what if they ship the handheld first? Because because obviously the PS6 console would be so expensive right now and would conflict with the PS5. What if they just did the handheld, called it something different, didn't put the number 6 on it, and just pushed in that direction? I imagine that there's not a ton of wiggle room about what they want to do with that stuff, because, you know, they spent all the R&D money already.
Yeah.
Something has to come out of it. But strategically, I do think that the PlayStation 5 is going to be a part of the next generation in a way that is maybe not as swept under the rug and ignored the way that the PS4 has been up to this point. Because, you know, like there are still PlayStation 4 games being announced at a fairly regular clip. And
you're looking for a 3-pillar approach, as they said back in the day. You're looking for the PlayStation 5, the Vita 2, and the PlayStation 6 all running Bloodborne 2
all running the same games at different levels. It ultimately, it's not that different from what the Microsoft strategy will end up being, but Microsoft will end up just allowing third parties to make some of those things, like it was some kind of cursed 3DO.
Fucking Digital Foundry videos are going to end up looking like WWE during the pandemic, where it's just like tiny squares all over the place. If here's the thousands of different ways you can run this game, like, man, we're going into a weird fucking place. I like the way games look right now. Like, I'm towards the end of the PS4. I was like, right, I'm ready for something that feels like a jump. Like, towards the start of the PS4, I was like, ugh, maybe we need to hurry up and get this mid-gen console released pretty quickly.
Right.
But now I'm like, man, the PS5's like, it's on a nice roll. Like, games are coming out and they're looking great. Like, we're not having massive, unless I'm misremembering some massive fuck up. It feels like games are generally coming out running pretty well on this thing. There's not maybe I'm misremembering, but it doesn't seem like there is these big performance hooplas like there were in the last generation, where people were like, okay, we are running out of console to make this thing for.
Yeah.
At some point, it's like, I think of the PS6, which I would get because I'm a maniac and I'm locked into it now, and I want to see how the new thing looks at like the nicest possible way. But like a lot of the people in the VGC Discord bought a PS5 Pro, and they're like, okay, this is me. I'll get like the 6 Pro then. Like, I don't need to get a 6 when it comes out, because they're not going to have games on the 6 straight away that I can't play it in.
No,
like that.
and I have to imagine that that'll be that way for a long time. And you do start to wonder if this ends up being the point where they shift to something that resembles the iPhone model a little bit more directly, about like, okay, well, maybe we can update this hardware whenever we can. Like, backwards compatibility is just a built-in part of everyone's plans nowadays.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with Microsoft, I think that becomes a little bit easier, because they're going to be such a Windows focus. It'll be such a Windows-based machine anyway, that if they want to put more RAM in a thing or do this or that, like, I feel like it's a very natural thing for them to do. For Sony, it's a little bit stranger, but I don't think that they'll shy away from it if they feel like there's demand, or if they feel like the availability of older components has changed. You know, if what goes into making a PS5 suddenly becomes a little bit harder to make, then, you know, hey, we'll make a lower powered PS6 console to fill that gap and sell those instead, or, you know, whatever it ends up being. I do think that they will probably be willing to play with the concept of a generation a lot more this time out, just because I think consumers have changed and the costs of all of this stuff has changed. And, you know, whether that's related to COVID or just the realities of modern game development or what have you, like, by pulling back from PC especially, Sony needs to reach the biggest install base that they can.
Yeah.
These games haven't gotten any cheaper to make. Wolverine is not some discount knockoff game that they're, you know, like, even if that game ends up being an 8-hour, 10-hour experience, whatever, some kind of shorter, more confined thing, it's not going to be an inexpensive game to produce. And so, you know, they'll have to put that game out across multiple machines. They will almost certainly do some kind of PlayStation 6 variant of that game when the time comes. And I expect that most of their lineup will end up fitting into that gap until it doesn't make sense to do so. If the PlayStation 5 user base falls off because they've upgraded or died because they can't afford groceries, or, you know, like whatever, you know, like they will eventually focus more and more and more on PS6. I just don't see that happening anytime over the next, like, 5 years. Like, if they ship a console next year, they still have years of PS5 games that they need to be making, not just third parties.
Definitely. So, like, they've got Intergalactic Naughty Dog's thing. That's another game that's probably going to come out, do incredibly well critically, it'll look beautiful, like, it will sell what it sells, but, like, that'll be here's your PS6 version of Intergalactic in a couple of years, and we're doing apparently they've got like 3 things in the fire that'll all be happening around the same time. Like, what do you make of this? Obviously they're doing a show pretty soon. They're gonna speak to people about what they're up to. Like, in terms of their lineup, they have Wolverine, they've got Saros, but that's out in a couple of weeks. By the time this show happens, Saros will be out. They've got Wolverine. They have this God of War thing that is like the second completely open secret God of War game in the last however many months. Like, what do you think they come out and say? Like, do you think they pull the pin on, like, okay, here's Spider-Man 3, here's Uncharted coming back, which is very likely to happen, here is the catalog titles, here's Ape Escape? Like, do you think they need to set out the next couple of years, or do they just go a little kind of quieter with it?
I think it would be too early to talk Ape Escape, and like specifically, I think. But I do think, and I think some of those efforts, if they are going to really go in that direction, I kind of have a gut feeling combined with some information that when I connect the dots here, and maybe I'm connecting them wrong, I go like, okay, there's something here. Like, maybe they would make a new Wipeout. Maybe they actually would make a new Wipeout, which I haven't felt that way about Sony in years. But they're at a point again where I go like, maybe, I mean, they wouldn't probably develop it themselves, but I bet that I could see a new game called Wipeout, whatever, you know, existing.
You and I don't know. There's a lot of smaller teams that are saying to them, we will make your library games, and they're struggling to finally go, oh yeah, obviously, this makes so much sense. Like, Twisted Metal, for example. Like, there is so many library titles that they won't fucking make that other companies would love to make.
Yes, I think they will be a company that pursues that in the way that we always wanted Nintendo to do, about like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if an indie studio made one of these or did this? And I think Sony is going to, I think Sony is going to push into that in some way, shape, or form, and they'll use that to kind of get some of the catalog, some of the older IP. Gabe Logan is back. Here's the new Siphon Filter. No, Mag 2, all your hits. jumping
Days
Flash.
Gone more. Days Gone 3, 4, and 5. What game?
The freakers are extra freakery now.
They hire that guy back. I can't remember his name. The guy that was really angry about Deacon St. John being an Astrobot. It's like,
I can't believe they would take my beloved biker man and use him in their cartoon video game.
I'm deeply sorry that your character was finally in a good game, mate, but it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's Wolverine and a handful of other games. I'm trying to think like what else they have like on the books that hasn't
that fucking God of War remake trilogy that's like 50 years away at this point.
That thing. Yeah. Right.
I think they have to come out and start saying like, what are people doing? Like, there's stuff that's ready to at least talk about. Like,
or they need to shut down more studios.
Yeah, I would say that half a dozen of them, something like that. But
no, there's they're at a point where they need to announce a fresh batch of games, but also they're getting into that delicate territory where as they ramp up for full-fledged PS6 development, you're going to have studios that are going to lock themselves in a room and not say shit for another couple of years. And maybe that becomes less of a problem if they're also PlayStation 5 games, but I do still think you need to launch the PS6 with some marquee hits that look different and feel different.
That absolutely 0% of this is any kind of insider information, but if I was them, now that Saros is wrapped, I think Housemarque is their best tech studio, like by far. I would say to them, they probably already have it, but like, right, PS6 stuff, do something with this that you cannot do on the PS5, and we can show people, much like Ratchet was the thing that was like, you can't do this on the PS4, show us the PS6 thing you can't do on the 5. But yeah, I think it's weird because Insomniac's become such a crutch of theirs, but like, they're probably, like, they have Spider-Man 3 obviously, but it's like, they're going to do another Ratchet. Like, Ratchet's a big franchise, and that
they
last
will eventually do a new Ratchet. They have to, right? I don't see a world in which that series is just done. But also, is someone working on that right now? Like, I don't know. Like, and then there's the Horizon service game. They'll clear that off the books one way or the other, and then presumably there's another Horizon in the works of them.
They have openly talked about the fact that they are doing a third game. It's just when the time is to do. And the Horizon clause in Herman's leadership is like, get out. It's just a big green light that he carries around for all Horizon stuff. Like,
yes, of course, we're gonna make one of those. Can we make another VR Horizon game?
I'll excavate this PlayStation VR 2 headset that's buried under Luna filament in my house, and I'll
sure I have one in this garage somewhere, but
it's
I couldn't.
Nice headset. It's
very comfortable.
I mean, compared to that fucking PSVR 1 headset, it's a miracle compared to that first thing. Like,
it feels great to wear. If only there was something to do on it or in it or whatever. But but then like, Physiant is theirs, right? Like, there was the casting call. Kojima's out there looking to start, at least casting for that. So that's something that they will be involved in the publishing of, that they could make a big splash with. But maybe
I'm with you, man. Just content with the idea that it's like, okay, every year we have one massive game and one smaller game. Like, they have the Wolverine, which is the game they put on the side of the bus. The Saros games for the gamers that will get like good reviews and become like a Returnal that sold like less than 1 million copies, but it's like a very well loved game. And then each year, the elephant in the room is they essentially have an exclusive GTA game coming out very soon. So maybe they're like, we actually don't fucking care because we have an exclusive GTA for all intents and purposes, and they're just planning for 2028 and 9 at this point. So that's definitely, I mean, that's going to weigh heavily on everyone's plans, whether they like it or not. So I guess, near term Sony, maybe they don't have to announce all that much. It does give them some cover for if they want to wait a little bit and say, hey, we want to make sure that these are cross-gen games for PS6. Like, they can, like, I would not expect Ratchet to come before a PlayStation 6, as an example. But yeah, maybe they kind of ride this out for this year with something like that Horizon service game, and more updates for Gran Turismo. I mean, I wasn't going to announce it yet, but I'm proud to say that I will be the person they're scanning into that game. You come to the Gran Turismo Cafe, and I will offer you some knowledge about my Ford Puma and how I smashed it off the side of a curb recently. Pretty good.
Nice. You'll also have a lot to say about Pal World. They'll be like, you'll be like, I'm a big Pal World fan.
I'm a massive Pal head. Me and the boys always playing Pal head, shooting a fake Lucario with an AK-47. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Sony's in a. When's the last time Sony weren't in a weird state? Like the launch of the PS5, that seems to go quite well. And then since then, it's been like, that first year they had a lot of games. They were like pumping them out pretty quickly. Like between launch and Returnal/Ragnarok kind of time, they were just fucking. It was like every couple of months they had something, and now it's just been a kind of a dearth of.
I think they ended up weathering the pandemic differently than Microsoft did, right? Yeah. Like their delay came later. Like they managed to get games out during that time frame, and then everything caught up with them.
Yeah.
And I think like maybe the leadership that they had in place was not really equipped to kind of figure out where the market was going either, and so they wasted a bunch of time on their live service adventure. Fair Games, that's technically still in development as far as live service. That was the game that Jade Raymond formed a studio for, and then she left the studio. It was Fair Games with a $sign in with a $sign.
I don't actually think that was announced, Jeff. I'm afraid. I think this is...
No,
I have it. Fair Games, chat, everyone. Fair Games. Just make him feel better about it. He's really fucking showing himself up here.
No, that'll be.
I swear to fucking God, if Fair Game comes out and you start going on podcasts being like, didn't expect to, but I've spent so much time in Fair Games that I'm blocking your fucking number, because between this and Marathon, you have absolutely sold out the good, honest men that don't fall for this shit.
Just love these goddamn video games. They're so much fun. Fair Games looked like I don't even remember what it looked like, but in my head, Fair Games is the exact same game as that game that Sega was doing that got canceled, the multiplayer shooter. Yes, Hyenas. Yeah. Like to me, Fair Games and Hyenas are exactly the same video game.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if they will eventually experience the same fate, but we'll see.
I cannot believe they haven't been to Fair Games yet. It's not like they are binning stuff off at such a clip. It's not as if they're like shy about, we don't actually want the heat of binning off. They do it all the time, and like every Friday at 3:00 I expect like an update on the development of Fair Game with the black PlayStation logo on the PlayStation blog, and it's like,
that has to tell you that either they're just taking a long time to review their entire portfolio, or they looked at it and said, no, there's something here.
They spell it with a $sign. $sign, like money. That could be the next big thing. Put this out, 300 concurrent players, and then that's it.
So it's I don't know. It's hard to say with that stuff, but I think that they're. I don't know. Like when I think about the opportunity Sony has, like I think that they've got some really exciting stuff. Or when I look at kind of where Microsoft is software wise. I think that's kind of a weird thing. Also in the news, this came out of The Verge. Tom Warren over there got his hands on a leaked memo. Where Asha Sharma, of course, the incoming and new head of Xbox, said that she thinks that Game Pass has become too expensive for players. Some of the quotes here: Game Pass is central to gaming value on Xbox. It's also clear that the current model isn't the final one. Short-term, Game Pass has become too expensive for players. So we need a better value equation. Long-term, we will evolve Game Pass into a more flexible system, which will take time to test and learn around. It felt like Game Pass was in a pretty good state for a long time, and now it feels like every 6 months they're like, we've got to rename all of this and rework these. And I think a lot of that comes down to the decision to put Call of Duty into Game Pass and the amount of money that might potentially cost them or make them, depending on how you look at it.
I think it's inevitable they take the hit and they just rip that out and they make it like, so HBO Max just launched in the UK and it's like integrated with a bunch of other services, so you can buy like Now TV plus HBO Max plus the sports add-on, and it's this big package that becomes more and more expensive. I could totally see Call of Duty being like, it's not 70 quid to add on to your Game Pass subscription, but it is 30 quid or something like that, so that players can like the Generation Remix can customize the Game Pass experience to their liking. Since Xbox started putting their first party stuff in Game Pass, I always said this is an inevitability. At some point, you're going to have to, and I always thought it would be Elder Scrolls 6, actually, because it's like, at some point, you're going to have a game that is so desirable that you are furious that you're essentially giving it away for no extra dollars than you were already getting. And the Call of Duty thing accelerated that, but I could absolutely see that being the case. I just think Game Pass went from this very easy to recommend, very easy to understand thing to now, when they announce new Game Pass games, I'm like, so do I get all of these? Do I get these on this service? Like, it's way too complex. They need to strip it back to something much more basic.
Yeah, and they were testing something. I want to say it was called Xbox Game Pass Triton. There was some kind of leak around that seemed to imply that there would be a variant of Game Pass that is only first-party games. And that, as someone who has access to a wide range of games on a wide range of platforms, that actually sounds like a pretty appealing version of Game Pass. Because I'm not really looking to play indie games on an Xbox, but the games that will only run on an Xbox, like, those are the ones I'm interested in. So,
what games will only run on an Xbox?
Well, what is an Xbox?
That's a great question. This is an Xbox Power Brew.
Okay, all right, yeah, this Vimto.
Yeah, good. You got the proper pronunciation. Yeah, I totally get that. I think they're in a nice situation where the software end of what they're doing, they can, like, okay, this is running. Let's put the railroad out as it's going, like, while we're running down this track. Like, I think that the Call of Duty thing has become a weird anchor around their neck, where they have Call of Duty. They're also in a moment where Call of Duty's on such a slide. It's like, it's not as if they have Prime Call of Duty that they're kind of wrangling. Do we have it an add-on or whatever? So, yeah, I think ripping out Call of Duty and making it this extra thing makes sense. I don't it'd be a difficult PR thing to massage, but if you announce it alongside something like you were talking about, where it's like, well, we also have this first party thing where if you're only here for Fable and Forza and the other things that they have, Halo and Gears, like, you can get this, but also not all the first party games, because Call of Duty isn't part of that, but all of our first party games.
Or they price that appropriately and make Call of Duty a part of that. You could also see a version where they say, okay, like, this is anything that has Call of Duty in it is going to go up in price, but also we're going to give you the equivalent of, like, the Fortnite Fortnite Crew subscription thing, and go in that direction, like roll out a subscription product for Call of Duty.
Call of Duty Elite, bring it back.
There you go.
Come on,
Elite is back. Yeah. Call of Duty is all Elite. Get the graphic ready.
Yeah.
That would be a way that they could go with it and say, okay, if you're in our subscription program, you're going to get 800 COD bucks every month, and also the battle passes. And maybe if you subscribe to the Black Cell version of this, we will give you the good versions of the battle passes, and some custom skins every month for being a part of our subscription service. I think there's a way that they could, they could sell that, assuming, of course, that that Call of Duty doesn't continue this slide. It's really hard. I'm generally pretty like, oh well, I'll wait and see, and I'm curious to see what they do. There's something about the kind of constant drumbeat of apparently this year's game being Modern Warfare 4 that there should never be a game with a 4, or there should never be a Modern Warfare 4. They should reboot it again.
So it's going to be Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 4. Like, we've fully went back in
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare 4, but also it's the reboot. It's the fourth. They didn't make a Modern Warfare 4 originally, so it's the rebooted Modern Warfare. It's the fourth one of those.
I was literally sitting there thinking, yeah, that's fucking crazy. They've made 4 Modern Warfares. It's like, no, they've made like 8 Modern Warfares at this point. Man.
Yeah.
Do you think
so
they
there's
need
something
to, like,
about that I just, like, I don't know, like, Ghost and Gaz are back again. Like, they already played that card. It's like
the protagonists of Call of Duty get Soap McTavish, give Scottish people a bad name. Do you think they need to just have a thing where it pops up and it's super a la carte? It's like, do you want the first party track, and do you want the indie track, and do you want, like, you're picking these little tracks, and you could give me everything for this super discounted rate, but it's still a lot of money? Or I just want the Ubisoft Connect catalog. I really want to play fucking the Division 2, hell of a game, but I really want to play the Division 2 and the first party games. Or do you think, to me, it has to be super basic? It almost has to be like shit or amazing. You can pick either one of them, and that's kind of it.
Right. I think they need to get down to where there's just like two choices to make, and some of this stuff is got complicated because they had a separate console and PC Game Pass. That obviously, if that didn't go away already, I can't even keep track. But like that is something that will obviously go away once every Xbox is a PC. But it does become like, okay, what are the different ways you can carve this up? And you know, if Call of Duty is not going to be the number one selling game every year, like maybe that game comes back down to earth in a way that they don't even need to think about this splitting it out conversation anymore. And they just go like, well, I guess it is what it is. These games are not great anymore. Or maybe they will, you know, I mean, Infinity Ward back in 2019, man, they saved that franchise as far as I'm concerned when they did that reboot. Like that got it back from, you know, like all the Black Ops without a campaign and ghosts and all of that that was a really rough era.
Advanced Warfare is a pretty fucking good game. Advanced Warfare, I like that one. That was the last one that I was like, this feels materially different. I felt like I was very good at that game. And then obviously they did all that embarrassing shit of like, we've got no jetpacks, way! It's like, fucking, you people know nothing. You people are sick bastards. But
Advanced Warfare is really hard to go back to.
Oh, really?
Like I reinstalled it not that long ago, a few months back, and got into a couple of matches, and just the way the jetpacks work and everything, it takes, there's a ramp up there. Like, man, I haven't played a game like this in since this.
Yeah,
I really liked Advanced Warfare. I was huge into that. I thought they nailed it in a way that the Black Ops games were not, with movement and some of that other business. But
when the most recent one came out, I played like 2 Prestiges worth of multiplayer. I was like watching a lot of WCW on YouTube because they were putting a lot of that stuff on there, and I was like, I've got that on one screen, I've got Call of Duty on the other screen. This is perfect. This is all I need. It's like it's totally fine. But I didn't have the. I'm trying to think of the last one. It was the Modern Warfare 2 remake. Actually, was the last one that I put tons and tons of time into because it happens to have some of the best Call of Duty maps of all time baked into it. So it's a very easy kind of sell to go back to, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Game Pass changes. You get your Project Helix hoodie? Yeah, you wearing it today or wearing it tomorrow?
You know, I didn't. I don't think I'm on the list for like promo item stuff from them. I don't get like the hey, we got a new controller coming out. I think they realized that I just don't take pictures of that stuff when it shows up. So they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna send it to the people that are like, thanks, #Xbox, #gift, #that. Like, so
I don't know. Your PS5, I've got one of these things. A photo of your daughter was pretty damn cute. I feel like if you double down on that kind of stuff, that's maybe another path that you could go down as an influencer.
The kids all got old enough that we don't want to put their faces online anymore. Like
Smart.
she was young enough then that it was like that
this
we
could
were
be
like,
any
okay.
child.
Exactly. Who even is this? Who even knows?
That's what you do. Just Photoshop random people into your photos and feel like my daughter loves this Project Helix hoodie, and it's like a 45-year-old woman wearing it.
You know, I posted that picture, and you know, PlayStation PR they wrote that was really nice. Like, they saw it and said, "Oh, that was really cute." And I said, "Hey, I don't know." I just
gave you $500 in a brown envelope, and you went, "Thank you very much."
and everything was fine. No, that was actually a really fun time because the Xbox had just shown up as well, and there was nothing to play on either of them. And
when I plugged it, so I signed the digital document for my Xbox on like a Wednesday night. And I swear to fucking God, it showed up like Thursday afternoon from Seattle. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, surely this has been in London waiting or something like that. It showed up. I plugged it all in and I was like, have I plugged in the wrong console? Like, have I plugged in my One X again? Because the first thing I played, Skate 3 on backwards compatibility. It's like, hell of a game. It still holds up. Still pretty decent.
It still works. Still works. Yeah, but they were just slow to get games out. I think that even like some of the backwards compatibility stuff wasn't in there yet either. I think for Xbox One games.
Yeah.
So 360 stuff worked, or whatever it was.
Mirror's Edge worked as well, so I think it was 360 era stuff.
Yeah. There was like a small number of games. They were like, here's what you can do until the firmware update hits that turns this into the thing that it needs to be. I was like, oh, okay.
When, I don't know if this was the case for you guys, but when our PS5s were showing up, a guy in a van that is used to like cart money from ATMs to ATMs showed up and like all full armor, handed me the thing, like made me sign all of it, took a photo of it, and then my dad walked in and he was like, is that a PS5? And then he walked away. I was like, shit, don't tell anyone this is here. And he's like, how not? And it's like, mate, it's not out for like a month. You need to relax. And you could just play like Astrobot and Miles Morales, I think, were the first two things. You had to download a firmware like that they emailed you. It was fun stuff. A console launch during the pandemic. What a laugh.
Yeah, it was such a. They were extra skittish about it because they had to send it to everyone's houses, and so it was like, it was that kind of armored, ridiculous situation, and that whole thing was, and even trying to cover it, because normally, like, you'd be in an office and like, okay, we've got cameras here, we're going to take a bunch of photos of this PlayStation 5 and we've got a place we can put it, and I'm like looking around going like, I could set this in my kitchen and take some pictures of the box. Why am I even...
The review that I reviewed both consoles for the BBC when I worked there, and the reviews were filmed at my mum and dad's kitchen table. So it's like, clear everything off, kind of set the lights up. But to be fair, Jim Ryan famously says that he launched the PS5 from his kitchen table, so I was paying tribute to the great man, as I tried to do, and every day I tried to live my life as Jim Ryan would want me to. Yeah,
that's very. I mean, I think you're legally obligated to do that.
That's what the PlayStation tattoo forces me to do. I'm a Jim Ryanite. I've not converted to Hulstism yet. Maybe if he puts out a remake of Infamous, I'll think about it. But we'll see.
If we get a new Sly Cooper, then maybe we can get into this. Some just a variety of Xbox things here. I want to start with this Pete Hines story because it's fun. Pete Hines, who was like the face of Bethesda for a very long time. I always thought of him as like he was a defender. He was the guy who was standing in front of all the stuff so that you didn't bug Todd. Yeah. Like, he will handle all of the questions and all of the everything because everyone else has work to do, God damn it. And not that he had a lot of work to do too. He did a podcast interview on Fireside Chat, which this is I forget his name. He's a freelance guy. He's written, believe he's written for videogameschronicle.com.
His name is Jordan Medler.
That's right. No, his name is Kirk McKeand.
Oh yeah, Kirk. Come on, Kirk. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he did this interview with Pete Hines, who left Bethesda back in 2023 after 24 years with the company. And he had some, so this is like kind of prime around the Microsoft buyout stuff, and he had some, like, he kind of didn't really hold back on this, which I kind of appreciate.
No NDA? That was my first thing was like,
no non-disparagement or anything like that. Just signed. I guess he left on good terms, so they didn't feel the need to put any paperwork in place. But the quotes here are pretty good. It was really hard to walk away from my team and not get to see them on a regular basis. At the same time, I also hit a point of realizing I could not spend the rest of my life doing something that wasn't for me. It was for everybody else, which is what I was doing. I was staying there because this place still needs me. I just hit a point of, yes, it needs me, and I'm powerless to do what I think needs to be done to run this place properly, to protect these people, to maintain what we worked so hard to create, which is an incredibly efficient, well-run video game developer and publisher. And when I couldn't protect it and I saw how it was getting damaged and broken apart and frankly mistreated, abused, whatever word you want to use, I said, I'm not going to sit here and watch this happen right in front of me. I think I've done everything I can do. This is not when I wanted it to end or how I wanted it to end, but it's not really up to me at a certain point. Truthfully, my mental health was so deplorable that I just said I cannot. And so I think he decided he was going to stay on through the end of Starfield, and then as Starfield got delayed, he was like, oh shit, I guess I'm here another 8 months. And he's referring to just like obliquely, I mean, he's not necessarily getting into extreme detail, but he is implying that Microsoft's ownership over Bethesda did not go super well in the early days.
I was always under the impression that, and maybe this is just because this is what they were trying to put forward, that they were just going to let them get on with it. Like, Bethesda was making games and making a lot of games like in that generation. Some of them would be absolute toilet, and some of them would be like the big games that you remember. But I can, as you say, like, Pete Hines was the stage man when they did their E3 conferences for a couple of years. He was the one that was out there for a while, and it seemed like they had a nice slate. They would have like, okay, we're doing our big BGS game. We also have Elder Scrolls Online, which is still going, and people seem happy with it. We've got our mobile stuff. We're going to do a Rage 2 out of nowhere. Like, it seemed like they were building up a catalogue, which is pretty much subsided at this point. But it's a shame to see, like, the quotes coming out of it. It's like, if that's what's happening there, like, is Microsoft having a similar kind of effect across its different pickups? Obviously, it's shut down a lot of them, and mileage will vary about what different studios needed, and maybe because he was there for so long, he was like, we know how to operate independently. We make games that people fucking love. You see how well this Skyrim's selling? Like, we don't need people who bought us because they can't make games to come in and tell us how to do it. Like,
and to then like apply weird pressure as to where those games appear and everything else. Obviously, there was, you know, Starfield was a multi-platform game that became a non-multi-platform game, and then now is a multi-platform game again. And, you know, congratulations everybody. Nice work. And you know, so the early days of that partnership or that purchase, I think, you know, probably were really crazy. I wonder how much changed after Redfall, because everything I heard about, you know, again, like, you know, what you had just said about like the idea of like, oh, we're just going to let these studios continue to run. And Bethesda does still have its own like PR apparatus and stuff. Like, it's not the same people I talk to for first party Xbox.
Same here.
Like, there is still a separate, some form of separation there, much like there is with Activision. But in terms of the number and types of games that studio gets to work on, obviously, like, they bought them because BGS makes the games that BGS makes, and that was the focus. You know, you saw some of the stuff out of like ZeniMax Online, like there was the game that just got canceled. There was like the Elder Scrolls Online kind of follow-up type thing, and so they were trying to figure out what other directions to go in. But like the days of, I don't know, even something like Dishonored, you know, seemed like they were coming to an end, let alone Wet or Rogue Warrior, or the idea that Bethesda was going to become a publisher and just pull in other projects and put them out somewhere. Like, Microsoft is already a publisher. They don't need another company doing that.
Like, they obviously they have Machine Games. They do like I thought Indiana Jones was fantastic. I thought that game was like
awesome game.
Incredible, and it came out at such a time that it didn't really get its flowers, for lack of a better word, because of the Game Awards cut-offs, and it feel like it kind of slipped out of the conversation. But I think when they come back around and do another one of those, it will be stunning. Like, they're doing Wolf 3, like, they have this other stuff that is doing well. I think that's actually a very astute point. Redfall clearly scared Microsoft. They were like, it can't get this bad again. Like, that was such a focal point of like, bad reviews, didn't work, so terrible. Like, it all just felt like a moment where, and I'm sure Phil, like, to give Phil credit, he's like, we are building a first party lineup that everything is at least good. Like, we'll have a lot of great stuff, but we'll have good, and when something threatens that like pretty good run they were on, I can see why they're like, okay, we have to have more oversight over this, because Phil can't be getting on podcasts to apologize about the state of games. Like, that is a ridiculous look. Like, good on him for doing it, but like, that was surely humiliating for like everyone involved.
And I imagine that, you know, that game, and I don't think this game was worth the attention that it got ultimately. Like, Redfall was like a pretty forgettable thing. It's just the circumstances around it. But those circumstances probably served to make it a big deal outside of Xbox in other parts of Microsoft, where they were like, hey, we just gave you X number of billions of dollars to buy this company, and now like they're putting out shit. Like, what the fuck is going on down there? Yeah. It probably ends up kind of threatening some of their credibility, or you know, like they don't have as much rope to work with after something like a Redfall, which is unfortunate. Again, I don't think Redfall is a game that you want to build any policy around. It's not worth it. It's a mediocre, you know, like it's whatever. Yeah. But it just kind of, it came out at that exact time.
The current industry doesn't let games be shit anymore. Like, you don't have if a game is shit, that's like catastrophic. There's no like, okay, this is quite bad, but we have a game next quarter and the quarter after that will make it up because we're making games quick. It's like, no, that's actually 5 years worth of work that is essentially gone at this point that we just have to swallow. You think Microsoft would be the company to be able to like, yeah, that's fine, we're looking at the bigger picture here, but Game Pass ideally affords them the ability to weather the storm on some mediocre games, because they're like, well, that's fine, because like people still got to play it on Game Pass and they felt like they got value out of it, even if they come away from it going like, well, I'm glad I didn't spend $70 on that fucking thing. Like, Game Pass still proves its value on the negative side as well. But I also feel like Game Pass gives games like that like a weird defense force, not in a pure pejorative sense, where they're just like, I played it and it was, what are people talking about? It was fine. It's like, yeah, you played it with zero stakes. Like,
right.
This is, if
you played it like a game reviewer does.
Yeah.
You're like, whatever, man. I don't know. It showed up in the mail.
Yeah. It showed up on a red and white PS3 disc. It's all good. We can just fucking.
We never got the red and white PS3 discs. That is exclusively a PAL region, UK, Europe thing.
What game you want? I'll bring it to you. What review copy do you want from the PS3 era? I'll bring it to you.
Yeah. Well, let me think on it.
Did you get the grey Xbox covers? All of our review copies, if a physical review copy on Xbox is grayed out and says not for resale across the front of it.
No, ours were unstamped, and so they would say Microsoft Confidential. It would have the name of the game, and have a bunch of like boilerplate legalese on it, but it was just silver with black text on it. That was for the stuff that booted on retail. If it was debug, then who knows? It could be scribbled on it in pen or whatever. But like if they were shipping something that was unstamped retail, it would be. And in some third-party games, like I have like a Borderlands 1 360 that is that unstamped, but runs on retail. I have that. I have like a Dead or Alive game and a couple of others.
In my cupboard, when the second Shadow of War, was that the second one of those games? It was one of the pair of them. They sent me the review copy, a code, I believe, and then on the day of release, this box turns up. This is when I still lived with my parents. This box turns up at my mum and dad's. It's like 5 PS4 copies, 5 Xbox One copies. All the Xbox One copies were sealed in cellophane, but still had the grayscale cover of not for resale. So I just in my cupboard, like right over there, I have a ton of Shadow of War review copies, pristine. I'm gonna get them graded. I hear that's all the rage these days. So,
I'll take one of those off your hands if you want it.
There's a retro video game shop near where I live called Forgotten Worlds. It's amazing. It's like the biggest retro shop in the UK. However, we were there recently and we were looking through the bins. Tons of red and white PS3 coffee games. I was like, viewer has been in here mass trading in games. That is amazing. I nearly bought all of them because I was like, this is class. I need to get more of these. I was like, no, that's stupid. Let's not do that.
Yeah, no, that's I think if you look at a lot of used game shops in Seattle, you will find like Microsoft employee copies, and those are just retail with like a stamp on them or whatever. But you'll find some stuff in that area for sure, because
in the UK and Brighton and Bath, where all the magazines were back in the day.
Yeah,
tons of stuff. Look, we didn't get paid anything in the UK to be a games journalist. We've got to make our money back somehow, you know.
Yeah, what you were telling me a story about that didn't necessarily involve you. I don't know. Is that something you want to tell on a podcast? Sure isn't. Okay, all right.
Maybe on a Patreon podcast one of these days. But
okay,
yeah. This look up the Drivergate scandal and infer what you probably should infer from that. It's an interesting time.
The United Kingdom, and it's weird. It's something that has come up multiple times, but people over the years have just either inferred to me obliquely or just straight up told me, like, yeah, there are just some magazines in the UK that were just on the take. They were selling their cover, they were selling this, they were selling, like everything but the review score, sometimes the review score as well. Like it made UK games journalism sound filthy in a way that in the States, it never really was, or if it was hidden much, much better.
You would say that, of course.
Of course, right, yeah.
That was, I believe, that was more of a hangover, perhaps, from the 90s, by the time that, the website gen, or the gen just before the website gen got in, it became, super strict to the point where PRs were like, it's going to get battered in the UK because all the scores in the UK were always a couple of points lower, because it was like, well, we're fucking critics, we're doing it for a newspaper. But
yeah, plus it came out 4 months later than it did in the US, and so
and it runs at 10 frames a second slower. But there are stories from the pre-internet age when we had 10 gaming mags running at the same time that are shared over beers, that you don't know how many of them are print the legend stuff where none of this actually happened, and it's just a fun thing to chat about. But there's some weird stuff going on. Not in the website world. The website's clean website.
So that's, when I got to GameSpot in '96, everyone I worked under was incredibly fucking serious and they taught me to take it incredibly seriously, and that's just kind of how I always was. And I imagine it's because they worked places where it was not taken seriously and they were fucking sick of it. So yeah, I think that print era, the story I always think about when I think about, there's two stories when I think about the UK, and one of them is I was at an event for a game. This is PS2 era, and I was talking to let's call him the creative director of said game. And he's like, "Oh yeah, so and so in PR is doing great. We're on the cover of all these magazines in the UK. He's been doing great, just getting the game out there." And then I was talking to said PR person, half an hour later or whatever. It's like, "Oh, I was talking to him, and he said he was so psyched about all the magazine covers and stuff you're getting in the UK." And he just kind of looked at me and said, "Yeah, I don't really have the heart to tell him that we paid for all of them." And
was paying for a magazine cover not a standard practice in the US? Because that's a British media industry.
No one likes to admit to it. There's definitely been cases where people have said, "Oh, clearly Game Informer because they were owned by GameStop and this and that." And there's plenty of room for a conflict of interest. But when Andy McNamara was there, he always said no, that was never. And I know that Andy and some of the other kind of higher up Game Informer editors would go to places and sit down. I've heard stories about because they would always see games way earlier than any of us would, because they were getting pitched for covers. And so they would be on the road, like getting pitched for cover stories and whatever, which if the covers were for sale, then you would think that whole step would just not happen at all. And so I don't really know, I don't know that I believe that every single cover of Game Informer was for sale or whatever, but that is not a normal practice.
Maybe it's more of a British media thing where it's a weird thing because in a lot of cases, and obviously this isn't a lived experience, I didn't work on the magazines, this is just stuff, and to circle back, the taking it really seriously thing, like Andy's boss and Chris's boss battered the shit out of them. Like, they always talk about the fact that they would hand in copy and they'd be like, "This is fucking shit, do it again, do it again, do it again," until it's until it's like the quality that it is now. So like the jokers seem to be wrung out of it. But like, I don't know if you remember, but the British press had a real stick up its arse during the Gamergate stuff of like, "We will take nothing." Like when they did that, when they did like the free, it was some, I can't remember what specific thing it was, but it was a free thing at E3, and the British press were like, we cannot take this, like our ethical code is such, things like that have relaxed, and obviously it was an interesting time on the internet. But
for sure.
Yeah, I think that the magazine stuff, it will sometimes be in like collaboration with a publisher. You'll be like, "Okay, this anniversary's coming up. Why don't we it's coming up in 6 months. Let's get on a call and be like, do you want August? And we'll maybe do like 10 variants of covers, and maybe like they commission new art, and there's like something like that." But like
EGM and OPM and stuff here would do stuff like that, where they would get art from the studio or like custom new art to support the story. But the way that was always pitched, or the way that process always sounded to me, again being relatively on the outside of it, was that they were like, okay, like it's to everyone's benefit. Like, they want to get coverage for their game. The magazine wants a big game on the cover that will help them sell copies. And so there are united interests there to, hey, we're going to give you the exclusive, so you'll give us the cover, and we'll do some custom art to support that exclusive, and this and that. And so it's not necessarily money directly changing hands, but like, Ziff Davis was probably not paying the person who drew that art specifically for the cover of EGM or whatever,
Are you under the Ziff Davis umbrella yet again, or what? Are you thinking?
Give it another 6 months. No, I don't know. I feel like Ziff is not, like Ziff ain't what it used to be, man. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what they own IGN now.
I believe so, and every other video game website in the UK. I wanted to ask you, like, you've done 200 episodes of this thing.
Yeah.
You've done 200 episodes of another podcast. Like, your cumulative podcast count must be coming up to like the 4 figures at this point. Like, it's does this still feel like the new thing to you? Because when it came up that it was the 200th episode, and I don't know if this is another element of like the way that COVID skewed time, but I was like, how can it be the 200th episode? That's like the new thing. But it's like, no, you started like a year before our podcast even started, and we're on like 160. So like, where do you sit with it now?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I guess. And I think the thing that's changed is like I think with the way funding and money and a lot of other stuff has changed around you know, like funding new things. I think the thing to remember is right before COVID started, all of the big podcast companies were getting bought. Spotify came in and they bought like The Ringer, and like there was huge money in that space for like a window of time. And so that was actually in late 2019, early 2020. I spent a good long time talking with someone who was like, get the fuck out of there and let's go start a new podcast company, and then we will sell it for an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, that actually does sound good. This place is clearly fucking falling apart. And I should probably make a move. I was under contract at the time, so I couldn't just like stand up and walk away. And it's probably a good thing that I didn't, because then COVID happened and a lot of those, you know, like no one commuted anymore. And so a lot of podcasts took big listenership hits.
Yeah.
We didn't. We maintained. But a lot of podcasts that were people's like commute listens or whatever suddenly, you know,
that's because
were
no
having...
one has 3-hour commutes, you absolute psychopath.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, you know, people would listen to it over the course of a week.
Yeah.
And you could argue like, oh, maybe we should actually be doing a daily podcast that is, or, you know, 2 times a week or whatever. Yeah. And we toyed with you know, I thought about the format a lot at that period in time. But also, like, the thing that came out of those conversations was that the people I was talking to were not interested in starting a great podcast company. They were interested in selling a podcast company and getting out. And I was like, oh, I still have, like, decades of doing this in me, and I just want to do it. Like, I don't want to just get sold around. Like, I was already getting sold around to, you know, all the companies that were over there. And so that door closing on a lot of the like big podcast stuff, it made it feel like, okay, this necessitates it being kind of a different thing. And also the going out and raising funding to start that, or to start a podcast network, or to start a whole new website with a staff and all of that stuff. Like that was, my head was kind of thinking about that 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Like, what does this really look like to do it again? And I think right now, with the way the money is, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that. Like, I don't necessarily know what's next in this space. But I was going to ask,
like, what's your, if there was another one of you, like, if you just spawned a second one of you, like, is it more of the same stuff you're doing? Is it like, I have a couple of ideas for different strands I would like to do? Like, what is there's definitely like a, you know, handful of shows that I think would be worth starting. And, you know, it's like I'm kind of limping closer to that all the time. But it's hard to do things like, okay, you know, this event is happening. We should have a big presence here. Yeah.
And do this type of show and do these types of interviews and do this type of thing. Like, it's hard to be a part of that with no one else on a team. And so you can partner up with people and try to make that work. And I have at times, you know, had conversations along those lines, but nothing that's kind of borne out yet. But I don't know. I look at, like, you know, because all of these websites, all of these independent websites have started up, and worker-owned websites and everything, whether it's Aftermath or Mothership or, you know, Remap, and, you know, like, and VGC getting on Patreon and trying to do that more directly. Like, there's been a lot of interesting stuff there. But at the same time, like, I wish, like, I think video games, a lot of it comes down to, I believe in video games as a medium, and I think they deserve to be covered thoroughly.
Yeah.
As hard as that is these days, you know, but I think that ultimately it's really impossible to cover video games thoroughly. Even IGN can't do it anymore to the degree that I wish that someone could.
Yeah.
And some of that's just because of the way how many video games are coming out all the time, but a lot of that is because they don't have the people to do it.
I certainly felt that on that note, like, one of the things that I think made the last show unique, and you've kept up with it as much as one person can, would be that tons of people have played tons of games, and the reason the podcast is so long is because we're going to give time to all of them. We're going to give time to the big games, and we're going to give time to these smaller games, and people are going to discover stuff. And you've talked about the fact that when you were sitting in an office someone would be playing something behind you and you go, what the fuck's that? Like I yearn for that kind of thing. Like it's hard to know what other people are up to when you're in your kind of singular bubble, especially if you're reviewing something. But when you're doing it on your own, like you are, when I'm going to an event in the US, I usually text you and I'm like, how are you doing this kind of thing? And anytime I text you, I'm like, well, if he's going to do this event, that's like fucks his podcast schedule, and he's got like other stuff to be doing every week, and he's got like the Patreon people that he has to get deliverables to don't care that it's like, okay, you get this content that I'm doing this week in a couple of weeks when the embargo lifts. Like it's a very hard thing to juggle when it's just you.
Yeah, it's and also like it's really made me rethink, you know, because like when you're at GameSpot and you have the team that we had at the time that we had it, you don't say no to anything. Every event you're there, no matter what. It's not even a question. You're like, oh, this company is showing fucking Dragon Ball for the Game Boy Advance and also taking people out on jet skis. So let's go out there and see what that's like. And then one of our guys crashed a jet ski in Hawaii, and it was very embarrassing. And so, you know, like if a game was coming out, you covered it. There was very limited numbers of games that wouldn't get covered, but it was stuff that like it was like the big rigs over the road racing style stuff that like was just showing up on a Walmart shelf. And so literally the only reason we covered that is because we went into a Walmart one November or whatever and said, just buy all this shit.
Yeah,
fuck this, we're reviewing this, we're gonna cover these games because it's all that's left. We've covered everything else. and you could do that, and obviously like the number of games coming out and early access and just like so I for me, it's just like part of it is covering the things that I'm interested in, covering the things that are slightly opportunistic, like, oh, I'm getting this game early enough that I can have something at a relevant time frame for a review or whatever. In an ideal world, I would have had a Pragmata review written and done, you know, and forces behind the scenes conspired to prevent that from happening.
Big Capcom. They're like, he can't fucking have this.
Yeah, exactly. It's kids that don't like to sleep at night without me there, and
also
so,
you're in your house. Like there is a disconnect. People don't appreciate this. Well, obviously a lot of people work from home, but I think when you are so close to your content station, as I am, like as we both are, there is a feeling of like, well, I'm not doing anything. I could be in there like doing shit. But when you're in there doing shit, you're also very close to having to sort out life shit. Whereas if you were going to a studio, like when I worked in the BBC studios, it was like, well, I'm 40 minutes away from home. Anything that is like 40 minutes or less of urgency, I can't deal with. So I've just got to get on with my work, which doesn't really happen here.
Yeah, it's that juggling that is really weird. There was an idea when we first kind of formed Giant Bomb with the guys at Whiskey and Shelby Bonnie, who was the head of Whiskey, and he was the founder of CNET and everything like that. I remember someone there saying like, you know, part of this is like, you know, he's got young kids at home, and sometimes you just need to be going to work. You just need to be like I need to go to work, and I need to sit here and do a thing and then come home, and your kids need to see that. And like I'm starting to understand that mentality with 3 kids here, of like, I don't think they understand what work is, especially for the work that I do, which is weird. It's annoying to be in a situation. Well, annoying is maybe a bit harsh, but like my son will want to play Pokopia. Yeah. And I'm out and he can't because he's been a bad boy. But at the same time, I'm sitting out here playing a video game. Yeah. And the hey, I need to do this for work, and no, you can't play. Also, you can't watch me because I'm shooting robots in the face. Like it's a juggling that is really weird. And so there's stuff logistically that would be easier if I was somewhere else, but the cost of that would be like insane.
Yeah, I feel it a lot when, like, for example, when we did our SGF stuff and we had that suite and we were getting people in and we were recording stuff, we had a base to record stuff, the energy was fantastic. Like I feel like the stuff that came out of that, like we were just sitting around and we were like, should we just do 20 minutes on Tony Hawk? Didn't prepare anything, got it out, got it up. Like I love that kind of speed of stuff, but it's just not realistic because of the rest of life that you have to balance alongside it.
Yeah, that stuff kind of yeah, then so I just have to form schedules and just be like, these are the hours where I am not available because I am definitely out here doing this, or ranking any the important stuff, ranking 8-bit Nintendo games.
Never heard of it.
And it just becomes like part of a schedule there. And then when everyone's asleep, I'm out here doing whether like the administrative side of it, of like, yes, I'm emailing people and saying, yes, I agree to this embargo, and you can mail me about this. I'm booking appointments for SGF. I'm like there's stuff that I'm kind of doing to take all that on. But as far as like events and all of that, I remember I think this is when Hades 1 was coming out. And they had a booth at PAX, and I remember someone came up to film something at their booth, who was like a YouTube guy, like a solo, a solo creator or whatever, and they were setting up the camera and doing all the stuff to film all this stuff, and then like at the end was just like, I don't even know why I'm here, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like this stuff, like it takes away from my streaming schedule and messes up. Like people expect me to be there every Tuesday, and now I'm not because I'm here doing this. And it was the first time I really thought about that type of juggling of, like, sometimes you need to get out there and just make shit, and it can't all just be live streams and it can't all be this. But if you've got an audience that's conditioned to expect that, and the Twitch audience at the time, or the Twitch audience that I think that person was attracting, was very fickle. And so it was like, if you take a week off, they find 9 other channels they go watch instead, and they don't all come back. Yeah. I haven't had that problem, and it's, I think, partially because of Patreon and just like having a good base of people that I think understand that. It's like, hey, I'm out here, I went to DICE and got a couple of interviews, but like most importantly, I got to DICE and talked to a bunch of people about video games and upcoming consoles and all of the other horse shit that you just don't get sitting in a garage.
Yeah, when people talk about like, oh, it's about the bar after, people assume it's like all fucking people getting steaming and stuff like that. It's like, no, it's like everyone lets their guard down a bit, because typically, and this has become a bit more of an issue as people keep fucking talking about where this happens, like more of the wider audience come in and you can like be a little bit more candid. But yeah, it's a difficult balance. Like for us, we have 3 core members of VGC, like we have freelancers and stuff, but like if I'm in the US, that is at least like a 3-day thing at the short end. Like it could be a week thing, and that knocks out a lot of stuff. So I'm like always taking the laptop, always being able to do stuff while I'm there. And it's just, it's a balancing act. As a long-time listener, first-time caller, do more written reviews, because I think they're very strong, and you should prioritize more of them.
They're fun. Yeah. They're fun to do. And I, I don't know, like it's at this point I've knocked out, like the writing is not the hard part. It's actually like the getting through the games in a timely fashion and making sure that I have something to write. Like that's and part of why I do write what I do write is to make sure that when I sit down to write something, it comes out pretty easily. The marathon thing was actually like, I wrote a marathon review, and that was actually a little difficult because I just had a lot that I wanted to say about it, and because it was a weird situation where it's like, this is a genre that I think a lot of people have rightfully written off, and this one got its hooks into me, and what are the reasons for that, and why, and when, like the extraction shooter thing has been swirling around for fucking close to a decade now, right? I mean, Tarkov was, whenever that came out, and so you've had this lingering feeling of studios throwing resources away, trying to make the next one of those, and watching them just like crash over and over again and fucking it all up, and you're just like why are we even doing this? But now between Arc Raiders and Marathon, you're starting to see some of those games come out, and they're not, they're not big PUBG level successes the way that when Battle Royale blew up, but they're sustainable games that are seemingly going to make it for some chunk of time, and I think that's been really interesting. Did you see the news that there was a rumor that Disney and Epic are working on a Disney-themed extraction shooter? Yeah. Which what the fuck, man? There's not more. I didn't put that in the news because there's not a lot of detail beyond that.
I mean, it's what you would do. Like, if you're like, we have all these lies. Like, what is Disney themed though? Like, am I in Disney World? Like, that could maybe be cool if like all the different areas are like, we're fighting through Star Wars land and we're fighting through like the haunted mansion and all this kind of stuff. But it's like,
I feel like the nature of an extraction shooter is not conducive to the Disney kind of code of conduct.
Yeah.
Because everything about playing an extraction shooter is, and you could do it where it's PvE, I guess. You could take out this aspect to it, but at some point you're kind of making a different thing. But I think there's sort of a situation there where it's like the good part about an extraction shooter is you fucking someone else over.
Yeah, it's selfishness. That's not a Disney brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so like I think there's a lot of stuff there that just isn't necessarily brand friendly. And also, I look at it as like, of course, Epic would do this. Like Fortnite's popularity was born out of them seeing another popular thing and trying to steal it. And so like naturally they would try to go down this road, especially if they're feeling the crunch on some of the Fortnite engagement as of late. I could see them scrambling and trying to figure something like that out. But it just, I don't know. That struck me funny just because like the idea of all these Disney characters just fucking stabbing the shit out of each other and I'm stealing all of your stuff and then I'm gonna get out of here. Like it's just like it's so not.
How far we have fallen from Battlefront 2 being like, we can't have cross-generational characters meeting with each other, we can't give them costumes that aren't canon, like we can't have all this other bullshit, and now it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin just blew Kylo Ren's head off with a sawn-off shotgun, and everybody's happy. Consume. It's...
Yep. Money solves all those problems, it turns out. Like if you're trying to have integrity with your brand, eventually
not worth it.
Not worth it, especially if it's Disney, which like what is brand integrity at Disney even mean anymore?
Would you like to hear a little joke that I have prepared?
Yes, let's yes.
What's wrong with Mickey Mouse's helicopter?
I don't know. What's wrong with Mickey Mouse's helicopter?
Disneyland. We're going to take another break.
Okay,
we'll
back. Great. No, there are no more ads. I need a break, but there are no more ads, so I don't know. The other kind of Microsoft news we were talking about a little bit here is there's been word. Where does this come from? This is according to Jeff Grubb, that guy, who says that potentially Fable is going to see a delay. It may be, it's not an announced delay at this time, but he is basically saying that internally they have delayed the game and that now they are wondering where to ship it around the launch of GTA, and that might push it out into next year. They cannot catch a fucking break on this goddamn Fable game.
I totally believe this for what it's worth. I texted you a little while ago about a Fable date that I'd heard, and since then, it seems like that game's ready to go. Like it's not a case of them like being shaky about the content. From everything I've heard of people that have played it, it seems like it's going to be great. It's just
that was like the early problem, right? Is that it was very like directionally they were like, we actually don't know what the fuck we're making. Is this a funny game? No. Like what? Wait, whoa. Why would you not make
we're trying to make this RPG with a car engine, and we don't really know what's going on here. Not a literal car engine, But I think at this point they're just like, we have put so much into this. We know we have a quality product. We need to nail when we're going to chuck this thing out. Like, I always thought an August would be like a totally reasonable place to throw it because it's way ahead of GTA. It's ahead of Wolverine and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything on the top of my head that comes out around that time. And that feels like it could be a solid, the old Madden slot of like, we're getting back into games, like stick out a game like that. And, in August time, but I assume when they do their thing in June, that's when they go, okay, here's the date. But until then, it's kind of a little bit up in the air because games can kind of like that game will have a big marketing spend, obviously, but they don't have to like put a number on it until much later in the process, and they have to like get the materials together.
Yeah. Fable is one of those ones, even looking at the game and going like, this actually looks like it's headed in the right direction, and everything, especially after all the years of it being in development, it feels like a very difficult game to market to a modern audience. Like what the fuck is Fable in 2026, 2027? Like who is that game for? Like it's like that's the same conversation that I think you have about something like Gears of War, like E-Day or something. Like who is the actual audience for that? But I wonder if at some point you just got to lean into, like, the stuff has become so expensive. You're only selling these games to people that have money and slash jobs slash whatever, and those people tend to be old ass dudes anyway.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's the audience for Gears and Fable and all of this stuff, is it's just like, hey, we're selling games to, you know, people in their 40s and 50s
and
who still remember this shit.
In my case, it was like, see these franchises that were shit hot when you were in high school, they're back. Let's try this again. I know we've been gone for quite a long time, but like for me, Fable is one that comes out, and it can go two ways. It could go like a Veilguard way, where it gets like slaughtered from all angles and disappears without a trace, or it comes out, it does well, it catches a little bit of virality, maybe it gets like into some award conversations, but there's like a ceiling of how well a Fable can do. I just wonder what their internal thing is. If it comes out and it's like a 90 Metacritic, it sells acceptably, I really hope that they just take that as a good, we done it, we got it over the line, we can start thinking about how this franchise moves forward. We have our big seller, because the Forza games always do like ridiculous numbers anyway, like that's going to be the numbers game for them. But I really hope that it comes across. I think that the stuff they've shown, I've been like a little bit, every time I see it I'm like, I don't want to judge it based on this. Like, I want to get into the game and like give myself over to what kind of humor it's going for, because despite my passport being British, I feel very un-British in my soul, so I some of that kind of humor rubs me the wrong way as much as it rubs other people the wrong way outside of the British Isles. But man, I hope it lands for them. I know that it's been a really difficult road, but everyone that, at least the people that are working in that game from like a performance or a writing standpoint, they're like, we know, we have an idea, we have a vision of what we want to execute, and if they can execute on that, that's great. In terms of where it actually comes out, like, I think by June they'll just go, fuck it, we'll stick it out in August. At least by that, GTA is not coming out in August, so at least by that point it can just be out and gone. Like, we need to just get stuff going. Like, I thought it was very bold of Sony to be like, we're putting out Wolverine on this date, fuck it, like hell or high water. And maybe that's because they have a marketing agreement with the game that they're going to be fighting against, so they know that they're not in trouble if they put it out there. But they'll end up benefiting from either end of that. This was actually, someone asked this in the VGC Discord, and I was going to do another thing on it, but I'll bring it here. Is the effect on the GTA effect on the other sales of big games being overblown? Like, games moving to like 2027 away from it, as opposed, like, if you were launching a week later, then I can understand it. But this absolute wasteland that's going to form around when that game comes out, is that way too much?
I think it absolutely is. I think it's incredibly overblown. Because I think that the types of players that play a lot of those other games, if we're talking about like big mainstream, like a Wolverine, or, you know, if they were putting out a Halo right then, which maybe they will fuck up and do that, then I could see those types of games, the games that might have that appeal to outside of the main gaming audience. But I think the main gaming audience is plugged in enough to, and they contain multitudes. They can play two games.
Yeah,
they can buy two games. They could buy three games, maybe, over time. Maybe they don't get them all on day one and spread it out a little bit, but I think they're perfectly capable of enjoying some other game in the middle of all of that. I think that there's the audience for GTA Online is not the audience for the new Gears of War.
Yeah.
You know, the audience, like, there's certainly some overlap. Like, the guys who like Gears will probably also like to play the campaign in GTA 6. Will they get sucked into buying shark cards and everything else? Like, I don't see it.
Yeah, I
don't see that happening. So like the lingering long tail effect of GTA, no, I don't think that competes with games. You probably have a two week window on either side where you're like, okay, someone is saving up for GTA and they can't afford to buy our game, and hopefully they don't forget about it 2 months down the line.
Yeah.
So maybe we should push it. But I think that smaller games, indie games, all this other stuff, I think the audience for those games, there's just not that much overlap. And who even knows if GTA Online will be there at launch when they put that game out?
If you were putting money on it, I would say no. Like,
I'd probably say no,
because if they do it staggered, they essentially get another GTA launch out of it. Like, why would you shoot your muck so aggressively on the, and also on day one it would be unplayable. So maybe they're like, we need to stagger that. Like, do you remember what GTA Online was like when it launched?
Unplayable. It was
unbelievable.
unplayable.
I remember doing that intro 1,000 times, and you'd get to the first race and you'd be like, okay, I have this thing on my screen, that means I'm going to get to the next little bit, and it's okay, it's worked this time. It's like,
yeah,
man.
And I remember finally getting in and seeing what it was and going, oh, this is terrible. Like, I hate this. Like, why would anyone want to do this?
I liked the UGC, the early days of UGC and GTA Online, where people were making like sky races out of like like, okay, we've stacked 1 million dumpsters in this way, and if you do these BMX tricks up of it, that felt very like innocent and fun and almost Gary's modish. But now I worry about what the UGC landscape is going to be in GTA 6 Online. Like, is steal a fucking brain rot immediately? Like, is that what we're going to be faced with if there's a way for players to make money, to make sharp out of their UGC and GTA Online? Then
let's hope. I don't know, but I also think that there's, I do think that they care about their campaign and people playing it, and they want people to experience it, and I think that's a very like Sam Hauser like level thing of just like, no, we made this thing, we really feel strongly about it before people go off and fucking and we make a bunch of money, so I'm not going to complain about it too much, but this is not the vision. When I think about, that's the crazy thing about GTA Online is all the years of the Hausers and just the Rockstar leadership being very focused on like respecting the achievement and the accomplishment that we've made here by making this game, and really like being about the vision of their game and wanting every single piece of it to look a certain way, and the attention to detail that they would go through, and how mad they would get if they felt that you weren't respecting it the right way, to then go, oh, here's this online mode that's full of fucking absolute bullshit at all times. And then they go like, oh, but also we're apparently making $1.3 million a day on it. So I'm going to be like quietly angry about it, but also the money's pretty good. So like, again, integrity only takes you so far when there's that level of money involved.
A ton of like newly voice acted and newly mocapped stuff across that online mode that just never translated over. I know there's like, Rockstar hasn't talked about it, but like all the cast members have talked about the fact that like, there was an expansion, like it was this focused at this thing on Trevor, and it just never materialized for whatever reason. So I agree. I'm really looking forward to GTA 6, because I feel like GTA is it's still like a bellwether in the sense of, I want to look at that game and be like, the same way I felt when I saw 5 and be like, what the fuck? Like, this is something, if they can still nail that feeling of like, oh, no one else is doing this. Like, this is like, no one else is doing it because it costs $3 billion, but no one else is doing this. Yeah. Like, I want to see that. Yeah. And I want to play through what will likely be like a 30-40 hour campaign, like it always is. And then GTA Online will be fine, but GTA Online struck me at I was like 17 when GTA Online came out for GTA 5, so we played it all the time. It became our like social game where we just log in and talk shite and like play random UGC games. But that now that I don't really have if I'm doing that, it's like in a Discord call while I'm playing FC or something else like that. I don't majorly see me touching a ton of GTA 6 Online, but I just want to look at that game. I want to see how that game runs on an Xbox Series S.
Right. Yeah. Like, does it? Yeah, exactly. Does just sparks start flying out of that thing or something? But yeah, and I start to wonder, and this is how I've felt about every GTA launch that I've ever covered. Every cycle that I've been present for, which is from basically
all of them.
Well, yeah, actually, now that I say that out loud, I reviewed GTA 1. So yeah. But Rockstar didn't start becoming Rockstar until GTA 3.
Yeah.
With 2, I remember they came in and they showed me 2, and the jokey question I always had for them whenever we were talking GTA was, can you do drive-bys? Like, can you do drive-bys yet or what? And then in GTA 2, they made it so you could shoot out the front of the car. It was not quite a drive-by, but and hey, we got the good news. You can shoot out of the car. I'm like, okay, finally, something for me. And then, they were at E3 with GTA 3, and then after GTA 3 hit, they never had to go to another event ever again. And they called all their own shots. But my feeling was always, basically from, like, I would say leading into San Andreas, so maybe coming out of Vice City, I always had this feeling of like, oh, they're gonna make another one of these, dude. There's no way. There's no way they can. Like, what would they even do? I feel like it's kind of tapped out. Like, these are amazing games, but realistically, how many of them can you make, and where can you set the story? And it just felt like they were going to run out of road. And then I sat down. They flew me to New York, and I sat down and saw like the first stuff that they were showing for San Andreas. Which first they sat me down and showed me their tone piece, which was like a bunch of like West Coast classic movies.
Boys
it was like, yeah, it was like, here's Little Boys in the Hood, here's some Juice, here's this.
Yeah.
Like, they had cut together a thing out of all that, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm believe me, I am extremely familiar with the source material you're talking about here. Like, you are making a game literally for me. And then San Andreas, I think, is fucking incredible. Like, when they said, oh, by the way, we're doing the whole state. We're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's how you do it. And so it's been this continual process of me going, I think these guys are fucking done, man. And then the game comes out, and I'm like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
okay. Like, they have found a way, and it's not always been positive. I think people shit on GTA 4 these days, in ways that I think don't line up with the way that game was received at the time.
Agree.
But like, that's become the process. Is I, in my head, go, I have no idea how they could ever possibly make another one of these and have it be relevant, or have it be this, or have it be that. And then they manage to pull it off again, to the point where now I'm expecting it. And now that makes me wonder if this will be the game where they finally fall off. Either way, I wonder if this will be the last one to be received as big as this, meaning physical copies of games, meaning single player story, like, as GTA Online goes and makes as much money as it does, do they make a straight up Grand Theft Auto 7 single player campaign, or do they just finally go, hey, we're putting all of this single player content into GTA Online. You didn't play the Dr. Dre stuff in 5, but you should have. And now we're going to put a bigger focus on that to try to get people to suck them into online by putting more of the single player stuff that people like into it.
GTA 6 is like mythical at this point, to the point where, especially among like the non-gaming audience, like, the concept of GTA 6 has become such a part of the culture that GTA 5 was a huge launch, but we used to get a lot of major launches. This will be unlike anything in games before or after it, and if they pull it off, like, that's the thing that's, and I don't even know what pull it off means, because I'm sure that game will come out and it'll have like 95 Metacritic, all that boring stuff, but like, it'll probably be an exceptionally crafted game. But if it can hit culturally the same way that GTA 5 covered a decade, and if it actually does that again, that will be the scary thing. Like, I think I suppose it comes down to, like, a lot of the people who made the prime GTAs are no longer there. They've been leaving and leaving and leaving. Rockstar's a very different company. Like, how does that change 6? How does that change their future plans? Like, surely at some point,
either way, this almost has to be, when we think about how long this game's been in development, this has to be Sam Houser's last GTA.
Yeah, like,
maybe he's there for another, like, if they decide to do a Red Dead 3 or a Bully, some other non-GTA game, maybe he's around long enough for that. But I imagine at some point he's like, okay, my brother's gone, the Benz went off to go make amazing video games.
Laszlo's not there. What's the point?
Yeah, Laszlo's gone.
I agree, and I feel like it's kind of a similar issue that BGS are facing, to bring it all around with Todd. It's like, they're working on Fallout stuff, but like, these games are only taking longer to make. Like, is there no sense, at least within Rockstar, like, maybe they want to do another new franchise, or is it just a case of like, you find if Take-Two are like, fine, you can do another new franchise, but you're also making a fucking GTA. Like, this is what makes this entire thing work. Like, you have to have a GTA on the boil. We'll give you infinite money to do whatever else you want, but you have to have your GTA going. I just think it's super interesting. I'm desperate to see what that game is, and I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I can visualize playing that game, and I want something to surprise me in that element of it. Whereas, like, from 4 to 5, it's like 5 had the multiple different characters, and it's like, okay, this is something pretty novel. But from 5, which is a PS3 game, to 6, what is that thing? These two characters at the same time, how is that going to be different? Like, all that stuff is fascinating, and I'm curious to see when they start talking about it again, because
they said summer, so it's probably not too much longer here. But for me, I also wonder what changes they will make control wise, because that's also been the long, slow arc of GTA development. Is like these games used to feel like absolute shit, but you didn't care. And as shooter controls became more codified across multiple genres, and the rise of Call of Duty and whatever else, like the GTA games have steadily become better controlling video games as time has gone on. And so I wonder what changes they make this time around to kind of make that better. Because I think there's still room for them to improve. When you go back and play GTA 5, there are elements of it where you're just like, oh boy.
Games don't need to control well anymore. Have you heard of Crimson Desert, hot new jam coming to consoles near you? I think.
No, I pushed my controller forward last night, and I'm waiting for the guy to start moving. It's going to happen any moment now. He's going to take a step. It's going to be great. It's going to look so good.
I hear you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. What a banger. I think that stuff will be tightened up. Like every time I go back to GTA 5 for whatever reason, it might be like it takes a few seconds to like get your GTA C legs. It's like, oh, this guy takes 2.5 weeks to stop running. Like you're like running at a clip kind of thing. But
that stuff's hard to go back to in some cases.
Do you think we get to touch that game before it comes out?
Yeah. Do you mean like specifically you and me, or the media at large?
The wokarati on the games meet, like did they drag us to Edinburgh, drag you guys to New York, and be like, here's an hour of it?
I think IGN will have hands-on with that game before it ships. What other outlets will get to go to that event, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that is my guess, that like IGN and like a couple of other like large-scale outlets, however many of those are left, will touch that game before it ships.
Yeah, it'll be like,
but I don't see them
fucking New York Times and stuff, like whatever big mainstreams they can still place things in like that still exist. I tend to agree. I don't think it will be we're in a warehouse with 300 PCs and everyone's playing it at the same time. It will be like you 12 people tell us where you live, so that if you break this NDA, we can burn your house down, kind of thing. It's,
I mean, but like GTA 5, like we had to go to a hotel. We walked to a hotel a mile away, like less than a mile, but a handful of blocks away from the office, and met someone in the lobby and picked up the game.
Yeah,
it was very like slide it across the table, and then like, okay, cool. And that was before release. It was, I don't know, maybe a week or so before launch. And I don't know, I've with the exception of GTA 4, because that came out at a time when we were not speaking with Rockstar, I've gotten my hands on every GTA ahead of launch. And I've covered all of those games, and I like covering those games because I think they're fascinating. Obviously, duh. But I would very much be interested in going out there and talking to them about this game. Like that's the stuff that, like, they've never really done a ton of interviews, and I've met Sam Hauser and or maybe I met Dan, but I've met those folks in a variety of circumstances over the years. And there was this silly event they did in San Francisco. This is like PS1 days, where there was a dive hotel, like a dive bar in hotel form, that got rented out for events pretty often because there was a PR company in town that liked that place, and there was no one ever there during the day. And Rockstar had lined up a bunch of kiosks with games, and then at the end, sitting by the pool, just lounging. It was like you got to see all the games, and the last kiosk on the tour was Mr. Hauser, and you sat with him for a few minutes and just talked to him, and it was like, okay, cool. Like, what? This is a weird conversation we're having, but all right, whatever, man. And it was like a very strange thing that they did, especially back then. But like, obviously they don't really spend a lot of time talking about the games anymore. They let them speak for themselves. And I think that's, it makes sense in a lot of ways, but I do think that like they're doing something that no other team or studio can do in terms of the amount of time they're taking on it and the amount of resources they have at their disposal. And I think that's incredibly interesting. And I think it's like, the way I frame it, the way in my mind I frame it, is like, this has to be like the last one of these. Do you think we'll be in 2036? Are we going to be like, oh, well, GTA 7 is coming out finally, and another 10 years, assuming that online is successful. Because if it's not, they'll cut ties and we got to ship another one. The circumstances will probably change.
I think there will be a desire for a GTA 7. I think it just sounds ridiculous because of the situation we're in, but I think there will be some kind of, and maybe they can base it off GTA 6 tech in such a way that it doesn't take like 2 generations to get out. But I think so. Maybe I think for GTA 6 they might bring back the week in a hotel to review it situation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they said, because everyone would do it. Like, obviously everyone would do it.
Yeah.
A week in a hotel in Edinburgh. We will give you the PlayStation 5s, and we will give no capture. Don't even bring your phone. We'll snap it in half. Because I think that that's why when all that stuff was going around about how physical copies weren't going to come at the same time as digital copies, I was like, you know what, maybe. You know what, I can maybe see them being so neurotic about it that, like, we'll ship digital copies to warehouses the day it comes out, but no before then, because we're not having this game stolen off a truck and then put on the internet. I think there will be I think they'll maybe counter that with like a minuscule download that would unlock it on day one, which they could do, but we'll see. It's
yeah, I mean, that's, like the reviewing Battlefield 6 was a really interesting reminder about the things that a company can do to a game pre-release when they patched it to remove the campaign from the game. Like, we were reviewing it and I was playing campaign, and they sent out something like, hey, you need to finish your campaign playthroughs by this day, which was like 2 days before launch, because we are removing access from the campaign from here to launch to prevent leaks.
Yep.
Because retail copies were either getting out there or they anticipated that they would, so they made it so, yes, this game will connect to the server and the campaign menu will just not be there until launch day. And it was like, oh man, wow. That's a really, I mean, it's smart, but it also is a reminder of just how even the single player games are server dependent and all of this other stuff in ways that are pretty fascinating. But yeah, Weekend Hotel. I think the thing I would say about it is, to counter that is, do they care? Like, the media is the video game enthusiast media is in such a different and smaller place than it was the last time they launched one of these games, that I could very easily who cares? Like, I don't, like, it doesn't affect them one way or the other. Like, why go through the hassle of setting up a bunch of hotel rooms and a bunch of other stuff? Like, just like go to IGN, let them play it for a handful of hours. Go to, I don't know, like, what, Eurogamer? Like, who's even left that rises above a certain bar?
Come to Paisley, sit in this office with me, and I'll play a couple of hours of it. I think they would want the Accolade trailer, though. I think they'd want we are fucking back, 5 stars. We're fucking back, 10 out of 10. Like, I think there is something about that is very filmish, that is still something that they aspire to, and I think they would want the legitimacy of something. But like
everyone will write those reviews if the Accolade trailer comes out a week late.
Yeah.
Because like that's typical for live service games all the time now. Like, when Marathon put out their Accolades trailer, and it was not necessarily 5 out of 5s, but it was a lot of quotes
being like, it's fucking brilliant. It's so much better than everyone else is saying it.
No, my thing went up too late. They might have. I don't know. Who knows? But that trailer could just exist a week later, and then they don't have to go through the hassle of renting out a hotel for reviews that will get 200,000 views. Who does traffic these days?
Views? Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nice.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, but that's my point. Is we're past the days of like reviewing the top slot does. Like, I wrote reviews for GTA games that did probably 2 million page views on day one, and then however many views on a video review or whatever, and that's just not there anymore. So, like, GTA plays in such a bigger numbers game than any of the video game media does anymore. Like, why should they? If I were them, I would just not give a shit. And I say that as someone who stands to benefit if they do decide to let us play. Like, I would love to fucking play it. Yeah. I would love to cover that game in a timely and early fashion or whatever. But I think if I were them, I would very much just be like, yeah, I don't know, we'll just do like 2. We'll find 2 outlets. We'll go to the New York Times or whatever newspapers we think have like good writers that will be friendly to that will respect the accomplishment and won't do things like say that the Beatles rock band is the most important video game ever made. New York Times. Which they were very unhappy about when that story. Like that's Rockstar. They don't care about coverage of their games. They care that you said something too nice about someone else's game.
Well, if I say something like that, it just means I won't get the wheels of GTA 7, and I think I can deal with that. So I'm not too bothered.
When those page views for those pictures of those wheels are coming in, you're going to regret that when you see.
I'll make sure that it's in the top
games
slot.
radar with the.
I'll assign it to the PS2 page and the Xbox page, and I'll make sure that it's on the top slots there, and then the action page as well. Like it'll be sorted.
Yes, you have to make sure that it's all in those spots. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they can afford to skip all that stuff, and I don't know. I think the accolades they would be looking for would be coming from a more mainstream place. Yeah. Than and maybe this is just me having a super negative view of games media in this day and age, but when I look at the numbers that are out there and I look at the publications that are out there, why would you bother? And just from a pure numbers game, just from a pure this is Grand Theft motherfucking Auto. It's why they put out all their stuff themselves. Yeah. We used to fight to get exclusives for trailers for those games. And we used to want the trees of San Andreas as a feature story because those would be huge stories. But everyone just puts stuff out themselves. They don't need the media to everyone has their own big YouTube channels now, all these publishers. So they just don't need to do it. And so when, none of these GTA trailers are going to debut on someone else's website. Rockstar is going to put them up, and that's going to be that. And so I don't see why you wouldn't just carry that mentality through to the release cycle.
My only counter to that would be maybe they would like, if possible, to have the first coverage of the game come from a professional point of view rather than the first person to randomly get it and stream it on Kick in 480p and make it look terrible. They could curate the media not response, but they could create what the media could show at least in such a way.
By having an embargo that's pre-release, you're right. That actually, that's a good point. That they can pick a handful of publications that they know will be professional and say, here's what you can post on this and this date, and you can post a hands-on, or you can post this. You're right. That actually does make some amount of sense.
Because otherwise,
just to make sure that people's first, it'll just be fucking chaos. It'll be some guy stole it off a truck, and he's pointing his fucking, he's got it playing. He's wearing sunglasses and is reflecting these sunglasses, and he's been on Kick for 15 hours straight, and he's got girls doing lines behind him. It's just who the fuck knows? It's Kick, man. No one knows. Yeah.
Lines of Power Brew, Dynamo Fruit Punch. My podcast doesn't get energy drink sponsors, so VGC the Video Game Podcast, if you're an energy drink sponsor and you want to give us money and drinks, hit me up. I'm Jordan Midler everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I have approved I approve sponsors. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to end up getting that there'll be ads on the show, but I have approved a handful of energy drink companies that have not come through yet. And
when we hung out in LA and you brought me a fucking toxic box of the worst shit from your house, hell of a lot of that got left on that very expensive hotel suite, and I like to think that a maid walked in and was like, what the fuck have these people been doing? A maid that surely walks into hotel suites in disarray, covered in skag, and they're like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Yeah, the most ninth tier energy drinks imaginable. Let's see. When we take an email here before we go. Podcast@guard.bike is the email address if you want to send out an email to me. Steve from Kingston upon Hull. Another English person? What's in the United Kingdom? Writes in and says, hey Jeff, with you being the first guest on the VGC podcast and the VGC lads doing a live show in Glasgow this year, what are the chances of you being there and getting on the Buckfast with the lads? Come on now, Jeff, there's no amount I wouldn't pay to get you to Glasgow. That's October, right? October, I don't even have a passport 16th. Right now. Yeah, you don't, no passport needed in Glasgow. It's a lawless land. Jeff doesn't know this yet, but he will be incorporated in some way into the live show. If I can't get him there physically, we can maybe. I mean, I do have a bottle of Buckfast in my fridge right now. Yeah.
So there's ways to.
What people don't seem to understand is when I have an idea that I need you for, say, in the middle of a Tesco car park, I would just text you and you reply in 2 seconds. Go, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I can do that.
I don't care.
Yeah.
So
I can handle that.
Yeah, the VGC live show in Glasgow, where we put it as we did like a Christmas drive on Patreon, and this ridiculous high up goal was to do a live show, and our maniac patrons beat it in 45 minutes. So we had to throw out all of the art and all the assets for all of like we've made it to this tier, because it just went flying off the end of it. So yeah, VGC live, if you're in Glasgow on October 16th and you want to hear us come and talk some amount of pish, the Oran Moor, which is a lovely little venue. Yeah, it'll be good fun. I like doing live stuff. I was a youth theatre kid at heart, still am. So yes.
Yesterday was the anniversary of the very first PAX wrestling show that we did. I think it was 12 years ago or something, or no, even longer than that maybe. But
let me tell you, as someone who was like a proper mega mark of Giant Bomb in those days, like that stuff was like unbelievable. That and the Mario Party video was like when that shit would drop or it would be in like the upcoming thing, I'd be like, I have to clear my schedule. Like every Friday night I wasn't fucking going out because Unprofessional Friday started at like 11 o'clock in the UK.
Oh,
so
right.
I was like, let's watch UPF on this monitor and play something else on that monitor.
Nice. Yeah, the PAX wrestling stuff was so fun, and it's like something I desperately want to do again, but all these years later, I feel like a lot of those folks have scattered. Yeah. Like I don't know that I could get everybody back at PAX to do it. I mean, you could do it with a different crew or whatever, but like, but I had the benefit of that was not my thing. That was something that Aaron Treitz and Eric Pope, who were at Harmonix at the time, were largely responsible for, and Pat Bears in the chat did a lot of work with that behind the scenes as well. A ton of people behind the scenes. All I had to do was show up and go like, okay, I think it'd be really funny if I was a cop. If the big reveal at the end of all of this is that I was an undercover cop. So what if we did? I would email someone in the middle of it, like, wouldn't this be dumb? And then we would just go with it and figure it out from there. So like my actual work involvement in that was very minor.
Remember when the fucking WWE games put Dr. Traxxas in one of their trailers as a created character?
Yes, I do. I was just thinking about that. I don't know why I thought about that recently, but did you ever hear the story about that?
I don't think it was made public, no.
So I think I did. Anyway, yeah, so that happened, and then I got on Twitter at the time and said something shitty about it because the WWE games are terrible. Because people have been sending it to me and going like, "Oh my god, they put Dr. Tracksuit in the WWE trailer." There was someone there who worked on that trailer, who I turned out to, because 2K's offices were pretty close to San Francisco. They're actually much closer to Petaluma where I lived, and so I ran into the guy who made that trailer at the movie theater.
Oh.
And he did it as a goof, didn't think anything of it, and I just was like, I saw it and just went like, oh, that's kind of crazy that they would do that, and just kind of, I talked a little bit of shit on Twitter because I think, because I think those games are bad, and I did not want anyone to think that I was endorsing those fucking video games. I then told my boss at the time, hey, this happened, and I was just like, whatever, it's handled. Like I said some shit. They took the trailer down. Like clearly, they are fixing it, and it's done. And he said, actually, because the company owns the rights to your likeness, I have to bring this to CBS Legal. Because the contract that I was under included rights to my likeness. And so it suddenly became a bigger, it was the most dehumanizing thing I think I've ever gone through, because suddenly like my image was completely out of my hands, and people were having conversations at a higher level about this dumb thing. And the end result ended up being that the trailer got pulled, legal got involved, but it wasn't like they went and sued anybody or whatever, but they were made aware of it in a way that I found very annoying. And then I had a call with like 2K's head of marketing, who wanted to call me up and apologize personally after all of this. And I, at the time when someone said, hey, he's going to call you, I was like, he doesn't need to fucking call. It's done. He's like, no, he needs to call you. I'm like, fuck. And so I had a call with this guy who was just like, yeah, that guy, the guy that did this is not real happy. And, it's one thing of this, but like, what if you put Kanye in it? What if you put Kanye in the trailer? We could be in real trouble. And so I was like, oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I guess I don't fucking matter. Like, it was just like a real weird, it was like, this is an insane call to have in the first place. It doesn't need to happen, but like, also fuck off. Like, what, and I just said like, dude, I don't want this guy to get in trouble. Like, it's just a simple mistake. And he's like, and that's when he said like, well, if it was Kanye, it would have been a big, I'm like, okay, I guess, man. And then my understanding was that he did not end up losing his job over it, which was my pitch to him. I said, don't fucking fire anybody over this. Like, Jesus Christ. And I don't think that happened. But it was like, it was something that like became a super dumb, like 18-hour period of like, I can't fucking believe that this is my life, that I need to need to reckon with this idea of my likeness being in this. It actually ended up being one of those chips in the dam of just like, I've got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this place is fucking the shits. This place is a bad place to work. I need to go start something new, do something else, whatever it was. But yeah. I talked shit about the game to that guy while I was on the call for him. I said, well, maybe if the games were better, I would feel a little bit differently about it. And he was like, hey.
And he's like, that slingshot technology is pretty fucking, oh my God. Have you played the current one, 2K26?
Like, only for like 10 minutes or half an hour or something. I streamed some of it, but
so the showcase mode is CM Punk, my favorite wrestler of all time by a mile. Love him dearly. I hold my nose and ignore all of the things he's done that's hypocritical. I know, I don't care. In this story mode, he is constantly going, I fucking love slingshot technology. Thanks to slingshot technology, I can do this match. And thanks to slingshot technology, I can do that. He says it like 300 times to the point where it's like, first of all, that isn't what slingshot technology is. Slingshot technology was the thing that they introduced when it was like, we're going from the live footage to the game seamlessly and in and out. Now it's just like, slingshot technology means that I can fight as CM Punk dressed as Bret Hart against Shawn Michaels and do the screw job. I was like, this is bizarre. Like, they clearly had an hour with him and they were like, we're in a ring, let's just fire through this stuff. Like, it'll be all good.
I played the island mode and started that up and joined his faction.
I watched that.
And the initial read, like the line reads he was doing about like, you are an anarchist. It was just like, clearly, they did not have time to do enough takes on that. And they just put words in front of wrestlers and said, go. And because that stuff is miserable. Like, some stuff is so terrible. I
still don't understand how they don't get the in-ring stuff right when they can be like, okay, today, Performance Center people, can you all just go in the audience? 2K are here. We're going to cut some promos for the story mode. You guys be the audience, do all the cheering. And they're still like, I thought Roman Reigns was a real good guy until, and it's like, you're this far away from the mic. Like, it's so fucking...
Yeah. The whole thing is really, I don't understand. The thing I think about, like, wrestlers cutting promos in backstage into microphones and all of that for video games, I always just think about like, oh, it's the thing that they get thrown into at the last minute as part of a very busy day and they never do a good job of it. But also some of them can't always turn it on. They can't turn on the intensity unless they're in front of a live crowd or it's really, really live. And I think back to, there's footage of it out there now, but like,
you're going to say Tiger Woods,
had trouble with the Tiger Woods stuff where they've got him trying to do line reads and they're trying to get him to say all of these different lines with enthusiasm, and that literally the people in the mocap studio had to stand around and clap for him to make it real enough for him to even record what they recorded. And
for Tiger Woods, I think it's more understandable because he is not a performer. Like, that guy is just like an elite athlete, and it's like, okay, whatever he can do to get in the mood. But when you're a WWE superstar, like, you'd think you can,
you can turn it on or whatever. But like, but some of them just can't. And maybe it's I'm sure it's better now.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about like, the stuff that when you go back and watch like WCW Nitro for the PlayStation 1, and it's got all those little promos you can watch, and all of them are terrible, but also mind-blowing. Like I think about like, then it was probably a lot harder to do, and people are a lot more used to it, for just the way social media is, and everyone talks into their phones all day long, and and whatever
probably
else.
a nightmare to wrangle those guys in the WCW.
Yeah.
Like the Kevin Nash one is like, pick me, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
And he's like basically walking out of shot as he's finishing his line. It's like, to work in those.
Like, I think they just set up a camera backstage at like catering and just said like, hey, we need these 12 people, we need these 35 people to come and do this. And they just, like some wranglers running going, hey, have you done the video game thing yet? And they're like, no, I'm busy back here, eating food and injecting strange things into my ass. And I don't have time to go cut this fucking promo for this fucking jabroni video game or whatever. But, that was, I wish, the only time I was backstage at WCW, they were not it was for video game stuff, but they were not recording anything at the time. And so I never got to see any of that. I did get to see the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, it was a magical time in WCW.
Think Big Show's playing Marathon. He was a big Destiny guy. Think he's hopping on.
He's probably tried it. I bet it's not for him. I bet it's a little too intense for him. And it's hard to like Destiny has a lot of low key things you can do where you could vape and play it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that Marathon doesn't. Yeah. So, I think ultimately that's probably the main strike against that game for him. But
I would say so.
But yeah, that's going to do it. Jordan, thanks for joining me.
Of course.
If people want to find you online, what are the best ways to find you?
Primarily, you can find me at Jordan Midler pretty much anywhere. I mostly use Blue Sky and Instagram, but if you want to find me doing the video game news coverage, reviews, etc., you can do that at vgc.gg. And if you'd like to support us, patreon.com/video games chronicle. As announced at the top of the show, I am proud to take over as the new host of the Jeff Gerstmann Show. So next week, the show will be about 45 minutes long, I would say. A lot of Pokemon Champions. I'll talk about Incineroar for a while, and then I'll
45-minute show doesn't have a lot of anything.
And then I'll show off Clodsire, which is a pretty good guy over here. He's a Haldane Pokemon from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that you should all get familiar with before the next episode. What Jeff's going to do in the future, I don't know. Not my problem.
Yeah, no, that's I have a bridge to go live under. I think I've got a lot more drinking to catch up on. So.
It's about time. You've been letting us down on the drinking front. We're out here in the streets on the front line, and you're openly saying phrases like "I can't drink like I used to." That's quitter talk. That's quitter behavior.
It was nice to go to DICE and have like a good 3 days in Las Vegas to kind of test it and kind of figure out like, okay, what do I still got?
Better ring.
I was like,
rust.
okay, yeah.
You're like shaking it off.
Yeah, kind of shake off some of the ring rust. Like the first night I had like, most of a beer and I was like, okay, all right. Okay, I should probably stop. And then the 2 nights after that was like, okay, let's just keep going. This is fine. Yeah. None of that's gone away. But, ugh. Can't do that when, you've got 3 kids that wake up at around 6 a.m. all the time and immediately want to do stuff. You just can't. I got to be ready at all times.
You got Pokopia to play.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining me, Jordan. We'll do this again sometime.
Of course.
And everyone watching, I'll be back on Wednesday. I'll be back on Friday. You can head over to jeff.zone if you want to check out more about the Patreon and get an ad-free version of this show and all sorts of other stuff. And I will see you in the future. Goodbye.